Hi, welcome back, guys. This is your friend Caller. What if with another fiction? What if Deku journey with Miruko and friends to become heroes? Now, before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now, let's get into the fanfic. Today was the day. UA, the best hero school in the country, had its entrance exam today. Midoriya Izuku was laying in bed, terrified. He was quirkless. He couldn't fly or shoot lasers, or even turn his green hair red. There was no way he could get into US Hero program. He was going to fail and embarrass himself, and everyone would hate him. But if he stayed in bed, he could leave hope and possibility hanging there ethereally. Tick-tock went his clock, counting down the seconds before he would be late no matter what he did. Suddenly, interrupting the sound slowly hammering him down, was a knock. "Bunny," called out Usajima Rumi, pro-hero Miruko, who somehow fell in love with Izuku's mother, who for some incomprehensible reason believed in Izuku's dream. "Wake up. Breakfast is getting cold," she called out impatiently. Izuku sputters, "I'm just stretching." He springs out of bed and begins to stretch. Soon Izuku opens his door to face his fate. From the hall, he could faintly hear music playing downstairs. Following the music, he soon smelled breakfast. Rumi's cooking was simple and frequently underseasoned. A downgrade from his mother's cooking, but filling all the same. He quietly walked past his mother, sleeping on the couch, on his way to the kitchen. After a villain attack sent her into a coma, she suffered from narcolepsy. Even in the age of quirks, where medical advancements happened at a breakneck pace, it would still take months, if not years, to coax her brain fully back to normal. As the two are breakfast, Rumi spoke. "Inko wanted to see you off, but," she trailed off. "But I can run you to Yua myself." "Oh, no, you don't have to. You're a busy person." "Never too busy for you," Rumi says back warmly. "And no, it's fine. It's Jay just up the hill." The Midoriyas and Rumi lived practically at Yua's doorstep. It was statistically the third safest and fifth most expensive city to live in. Even with Rumi's salary, there was no way they could afford this house, were it not for the fact that up until recently the neighborhood beach had been used as an illegal dumping ground for some incomprehensible reason. Sure, the fact that Rumi was responsible for getting the land cleaned only after she bought the house was a legal gray area. But she had a really great lawyer, who incidentally was really great at surviving being car-bombed, 7 months of intensive care aside. But they were back on solid foods and back on retainer. There was a reason Rumi moved her loved ones to the third safest city in Japan. Yua's gates stood there like an open maw, capable of swallowing Izuku and all his dreams whole. Bracing himself, he took on single step, then another. Then, as if mocked by the entire universe, trips on thin air. The boy ducks, rolling his body in order to spring to his feet smoothly. "Wow," someone says, hand outstretched. Izuku makes an eep sound. In his life, attention from his peers has never led to anything good, especially if they were popular. There's no doubt in Izuku's mind that a cute brunette like that would be extremely popular. "Oh, I'm sorry," Izuku belts out before sprinting away. Unbeknownst to Izuku, many would mistake his movements for being quirk-enhanced. 2 years training with a pro-hero famous for her legs, for many reasons, will do that to someone. US entrance exam was broken up into 2 parts, academic and practical. If you asked Izuku, anyone could handle the academic, which made him nervous. If the academic wasn't challenging that much, mean that the practical would be terrifying, because UA was famously hard to get into. Soon Izuku and the other hopefuls were shuffled into a field next to a large open gate. Through it, a mock city. A stage and a large screen stood opposite. A man walks onto the stage. Izuku knows that man. Pro-hero Present Mike. Famous for his mastery of his disruptive vocal quirk and his late-night radio show. "Hello, listeners. Wah wah we alekwa me to US practical. The rules are simple. In that city, there are villain bots, each worth The screen lights up. 1 point, an image of a wheeled robot with blocky arms and human-like hands. 2 points, a 4-legged robot with a scorpion-like tail. And 3 points, a stout and blocky robot. Oh, and there's one worth 0 points, a robot with a blocky humanoid torso and tank treads for legs. You have 10 minutes to destroy or trap as many as you can. Okay, start. Izuku bolts. Another beat. Life doesn't have countdowns. There's a stampede. Miraculously, Izuku is the third through the gate. After a boy with motor block-sized calves and a frog girl. The fist robot Izuku sees takes a swing at him, before a boy with iron skin plows through it. Izuku needed to get further in to stand a chance at gaining points. Izuku spies a 2-point robot on the other side of the wreck of a 3-point. Now is his chance. He leaps off the wreckage like a ramp, legs swinging skyward. Before mimicking one of his mentor's more famous moves, Luna Fall. The only thing saving his foot from agony as it breaks open the robot's head is the sturdy boots Rumi gave him. Looking around, Izuku spots a 1-pointer just in time to react to its charge. Izuku shifts, then plants his feet. Reaching out, he grabs the robot's arm and swings. The 1-pointer smashes into the 2-pointer, which in turn smashes into the 3-pointer's wreck. 3. He could do that again. Before long, Izuku manages to smash a 1-pointer into a 3-pointer. Then a 1-pointer into 2 2-pointers. 7-12. This can't last forever. The 1-pointers are thinning out fast. He hears a scream. A small purple-haired boy has managed to stop 2 robots with some sort of purple orbs. Unfortunately, ended up close enough together, and close enough to him to effectively box him in. One of them was a 3-pointer, and the other was a 2-pointer. 2 of its forelegs were stuck to the ground, but at one of the front legs free to flail at him. With our thinking, Izuku charges. Kicking off a wall, he throws his body weight onto the leg, slowing it just enough for the other boy to capture it. Thank you, he says. Izuku smiles, then tries to get up. He's caught on something. Hold on, I got you. The short kid leans forward to get him free. A shadow looms. Izuku kicks out, pushing his comrade away as the robot's scorpion tail swings. It clips Izuku's leg painfully. When its tail pulls back for another strike, Izuku sees his opening. Throwing his legs forward, he hooks them around the robot's exposed head. Luna Tidras. He jerks his legs back, taking the robot's head with him. 14. Dude, that was awesome. Izuku's panting. Thank you. The kid's easing Izuku free of his sticky trap. Soon Izuku is free. See you later, calls the purple guy before bouncing off. Apparently, the sticky detachable ball hair was also bouncy. Quirks are weird. Suddenly, there's commotion. People are running. There's a loud rumbling. How Izuku thinks oddly calm. That's a big robot, at least 12 stories. Help! Someone calls, snapping Izuku out of his frozen state. Izuku looks around. Hello? Help! Izuku follows the sound through an alley. A large rock lay on the ground. Smashed robots are under it. Help! The voice calls again from right beside him. There's no one there. He feels a hand on his leg. Someone's invisible. Oh, I'm here. Izuku looks down. What's wrong? The rumbling is getting closer. Someone dropped a rock on me. My leg's stuck. First, Izuku tries lifting the rock. The rumbling is getting closer. He needs some kind of lever. Looking around, he sees a stop sign. Hold on. Izuku runs full tilt, then jumps. Briefly, it looks like the sign is going to spring him back before it snaps. Dragging it back, Izuku frantically tries to think up a fulcrum. The robot was getting closer. Izuku's boots have steel toes. He takes of his boot, then slides the stop sign's base under the rock. Left a little. Okay, ready? Izuku puts his weighting the sign. Thank you. I'll leg. A weight leans on Izuku. He feels an arm wrap around him. Izuku grabs at the invisible girl. They run the best they can. A buzzer. The rumbling stops. Izuku's being hugged. Thank you, I. Her voice hitches. I think you saved my life. Oh well, anyone W would have done it. Still, thank you. She's clinging to his hand as she uses him as a support to get to the curb. I'm just going to sit here a while. Izuku takes off his shirt. Here so they can know you're here. Thanks, she squeaks out. Suddenly Izuku was very aware that he was shirtless. Izuku jogs back the way they came. Much to his dismay, his boot was gone. Smashed under the treads. Losing his boots would make it harder to pass his backup school's exams. He had just broken them in. Izuku starts to cry. Notes. The shirtless Izuku scene gives me an opportunity to talk about something I'm passionate about. How strength is portrayed in media. Washboard abs are the result of almost 0% body fat, which is unhealthy, and extreme dehydration, which is extremely unhealthy, and flexing, which even All Might can't do all day. Seriously, bodybuilders DNT even look like bodybuilders outside of competition. So to picture Izuku shirtless. Picture fat. Then picture that fat being firm enough that it doesn't sag. The lack of saging means it's muscle. If he flexes, it's going to be hard, but until then it looks kind of squishy. Especially considering he still has a thin layer of body fat, which is good for a fighter. As Fatcom demonstrates its pating. Now strongmen have large muscular bellies. Izuku is not a strongman. He is strong, but given his training is mostly calisthenic and cardio, he should have a leanness to him. Midoriya Izuku had been in his room for the last 3 days. He hadn't even gotten 15 points for US practical. He knows he bombed the interview for Shisu, and the teachers at Choco kept on giving him dirty looks. Inko was getting worried for her son. Izuku dear, she calls through the door. Why don't we go to the beach? It's a beautiful day out. We can go tomorrow, Izuku mumbles out. It's getting late in the year. It might be the last warm day. She hears shuffling. Izuku steps out into the hall, puffy-eyed. He was wearing swim trunks and a shirt. Inko's son never let anyone see him shirtless. Much to Inko's horror, he has a dreadful amount of scars. Scars that she hasn't known about for years. The beach was less than a block away. It has a wide sandy coast and a gorgeous view of the ocean. Since it was cleaned, the entire neighborhood became revitalized. Trade vans lined streets to fix any house that wasn't already being moved into. Fishermen and a few food carts lined the pier. The two stood there. The water would be cold, and it probably wouldn't be a good idea for Inko to go into the water. Izuku takes a deep breath and walks forward. The water is what one could charitably call bracing. He hesitates as the water nears his hips. Then Izuku decides to jump in. It's like a slap to the face. Izuku feels wide awake. How is it? Inko asks from shore. Paralyzingly close to the waterline. GG good, he chatters out. Inko laughs. Her head drops slightly. Then she puts one foot in the water only to quickly pull it back. It's frigid. You get used to it, Izuku dazed truthfully. Inko takes another step and begins an ankle-deep wade. So Izuku, she asks, I'm sure you'll get into one of your high schools, but do you have a just-in-case plan? Maybe, Izuku says from where he follows her in the water. He does not elaborate. Oh, do you like the new neighborhood? Yes, it's very nice. The two are nearing the pier now. Let's get something to eat. Izuku swims to shore. He hadn't eaten much lately and swimming hadn't helped. However, much to Izuku's dismay, being out of the water didn't make him less cold. He had hoped that food would warm him, but even after he dug in he shivered. We should go home now. Rumi, like she often does, comes home battered and ready for a long bath. Whatever mojo that had been making villains surrendered without even a little fight was wearing off. She was definitely happy about that, although that last group seemed almost hand-picked to give her trouble. Her large rabbit ears are still ringing from that last sonic attack. But she was home now, and she could peel out of her costume, take a nice long bath. Then maybe get Bunny to spar a little, and oh, she could cuddle with Inko. Walking inside, she immediately sees Inko and Izuku standing around a table. "Am I about to get interventioned?" Rai quips as she unclasps her bulky metal footwear. The Yua letter came in, Izuku says, fear and reverence thick in his voice. Oh, she shoot. Rumi hurried into the living room. The letter was small. Not a good sign. She watches as Izuku with shaking hands opens the letter. It's a small, thick metal disc. Buttons on two sides of its edge. One side has a grating like a speaker. Huh. Suddenly there's light. A holographic screen flashes to light. A familiar face grates them. "I am here," All Might booms out as a projection. That's right. I wasn't just in Mustafa to fight crime, you're looking at you as newest faculty member. Orumi thinks Izuku must have gotten in, why else would they brag about this? Midoriya Izuku, even though you passed the written exam, 14 villain points isn't enough to get into UA. Izuku and Inko start crying. Orumi was going to go to jail for killing the #1 hero, wasn't she? If that was all to it. But there's more to being a hero than swinging your fist. Helping people is the true goal of a hero, which is why we have rescue points. You Midoriya Izuku were awarded 64 points, giving you a grand total of 78 points. Congratulations, #1 scorer. See you soon, champ. The three of them stared at the space the hologram once was. Holy sh cow, says Rumi before turning to Izuku. Rumi's words seemed to prod Inko out of her stupor. She climbs over the table to hug her son. I'm so, she sobs out. Happy for you, Izuku. Izuku's crying too. That is to say, he had been crying the entire time, but the reason had changed. Rumi scoops them both up and starts spinning them around. Ah ha ha ha. Squeals Inko in fear. Rumi teeters as she almost loses balance. Ha ha ha. She sets them down. Not bad, kid. Izuku chuckles. It was nothing, he says deprecatingly. No, Rumi states, none of that. You worked hard. You did great. Izuku sniffles. Thank you, Rumi. We should celebrate. I know, I'll cook katsudon. Suggests Inko. Rumi dear, please help me. Of course. I'm going to shower first. Rumi then made a bunch of kissy faces and walked out of the room. One of the rooms Rumi had specifically renovated when they moved in was the bathroom. Its footprint extended to make room for a large, clawfoot bathtub. Rumi had found it on the beach, and after having it lead tested and cleaned, it was deemed fit to lay in. And that was the important part, being able to lie down. It pained Rumi to not be able to bathe as there wasn't the time. The kid, after all, deserved a celebration. She could bathe later. Their kitchen is the other room specifically renovated for the move-in. Its counters glisten, its floors have traction, and its appliances dumb and durable. Truly a kitchen of 23rd century. Yet for all the kitchen elegant design and its hint of homey rustic decorations, the most beautiful and elegant thing in the room was, in Rumi's eyes, Midoriya Inko. Heya dumpling. Inko jolts, hello dear. Rumi slaps her hands together. What's first? Inko looks into the living room, where Izuku is watching one of his favorite movies. She gestures a sliding motion with her hands. Rumi steps aside. Inko gives a look, then gestures again. Rumi slides the door shut. She liked where this was going. We need to talk, Inko said seriously. She no longer liked where this was going. Yes? Are we sure about this? What? Us? No, I. No, I mean, Inko looks a little panicked. It's Izuku Yua. She shuffled closer. What if he gets hurt? My baby boy. He isn't going to be a kid forever. He might be. You know how dangerous hero work can be. I've seen your scars. Rumi never wanted to have this conversation. I understand where you're coming from. I don't agree it's suddenly she can't find the words. It's what? Some adrenaline trip for you. Like you're the only one affected by your choices. It's not my decision, it's not your decision either. It's his decision. Rumi points to the door, whisper shouting. And he doesn't want to live a life of mediocrity, shoved into a little box of people's condescending expectations. He's good at this. Maybe better than me in some ways. But he's not stronger than you. He's not faster. Neither is Centipter, or Night Eye, or Snipe. But he doesn't have a quirk. Something inside Rumi was lashing around her heart and stomach. How couldn't she see it? How couldn't she see him? How could she treat her own kid like this? Like some weak little bunny girl who should be afraid of her own shadow. She flinches as her own voice cracks, need to leave. Tell Izuku I got called in. Upon reflection, Rumi could have handled that better. Bunny is her kid after all. Upon further reflection, Rumi handled it really well actually. She hadn't yelled, and she got herself out of a situation that was making her mad. Take that Yuzujama anger issues, she thinks proudly. Ha 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 woo. She's going to have to make this up to Inko and Bunny, isn't she? Ugh, she was going to have to talk about her feeling too. One step at a time, Rumi. There's a chime as she walks into a shop. Hi Rumi-san, says a familiar face. We haven't seen you in you're not wearing any shoes. Yeah. Can I get 2 carrot cakes and a chocolate caramel bar to go? A cat rubs against her leg. She bends down to pet Baystar. The cashier says the price. Rumi pats herself down looking for her money clip, before remembering she was wearing her stay-at-home sweatpants. Can I set up a tab? I can tell you've had a weird night, so sure. You're here all the time, anyway. She puts her hands together. Thank you so much. With anger comes adrenaline, and with adrenaline comes the blocking of pain and discomfort. With a calm head and no adrenaline comes the discomfort of not wearing shoes on a cool night. Fortunately for Rumi, her office was right next door, and she kept a few spare shoes there. The building was laughably small by industry standards, especially for a rising star like Miruko. The ground floor's footprint was taken up by the secretary's desk, the building's only bathroom, a storage closet. The back half of the building and part of the parking spaces out back was turned into a training area. Thankfully, only one of the building's employees had a car. The second floor held a simple break room, a second closet, a former bathroom turned into a shower closet, the investigation room, which was simply 2 desks pressed together and several cork boards, and critically the crash room. There was a trick to getting inside without keys to the building. The trick being able to jump 2 stories up. Miruko's costume was fairly skin-tight. It had pockets, but only had enough room for the bare minimum of day-to-day hero gear. Keys, thankfully, to this situation are not necessary equipment, so the roof access has a keypad. Soon she would be at the crash room. The crash room is an institution, a pillar older and more hallowed than All Might. Arguably, it was older than heroics as a profession. The crash room is built into the very fiber of hero culture. According to many, it wasn't a hero agency without one. Most judged the quality of the agency by the quality of those rooms. In all its elegant simplicity, the crash room is a bed in a room, with maybe a motivational poster. Rumi slides a plastic tote out from under the bed. She shifts through its content. Past the blankets, past the one-size-fits-most PJs, past one of her old costumes stuffed inside a garbage bag. Rumi takes that out and tosses it into the corner. Finally, she finds them. A pair of Crocs and some grippy socks. Right next, an open pack of men's underwear and a sleeping mask. Looking at the bed, Rumi was honestly tempted to just go to sleep now and deal with this later. But she hates having to wake up to heavy emotions. so she sighs and trudges home. As she opens the door to her home, she hears a movie playing, Izuku breathing nervously, and Inko's stifled tears. "I'm home," she calls out warmly. Rumi-san calls out Izuku. "I brought gifts." Rumi deposits the bag of cake in the living room. Inko laughs a little wetly. "How far into the movie are we?" "Halfway," says Izuku. Inko scoots over, making room, leaving her sandwiched in the middle. Rumi starts idly tracing old graffiti traced into the wood. A stylized S, a different stylized S with a shield. Yoichi was here, and a picture of a simple man with a droopy nose peeking over some kind of wall. Part way through the night, Inko falls asleep as she leans into Rumi, and as Izuku leans into her. "All right, kid, it's getting late, go to sleep." "Yeah, okay. It's too late to start another movie." Now Rumi waits, and waits, and suddenly it's morning. "Inko, where's Inko?" She finds her in the backyard, watching a sunrise. "Hey," Rumi says, I guess I'm sorry about last night. I grew up hearing a lot of that can't be a hero stuff, and I reacted poorly." "I understand," she says coolly. "I think Izuku is going to be a great hero. Not all heroes are going to be frontline fighters. Our boy's a strategist." "He's our boy now," tone unreadable. Rumi decides it's best to forge ahead. "I could get the boys, her work teammates, and try to push him towards investigation, but he's going to be a hero, somehow, someway. We might as well give him the tools he needs." "I suppose you're right. I'm sorry I got angry. It's not something I can just decide not to be. So sometimes I just need to leave. I'm sorry for scaring you." Inko, by way of response, slowly leans onto Rumi's shoulder. Midoriya Izuku is terrified. The first day in a new school. Given his track record with school, he has plenty reason to feel that way. However, given that right here, right now, the only thing standing between him and his lifelong dream was a door. He has no choice but to open that door. Taking in the class, he half expects to see Bakugo, his best friend, turned bully, turned quirk supremacists. But instead, he sees strangers, calmly chatting. Well, they were chatting until Izuku opened the door. "Sup," says a guy with yellow hair before a familiar face calls out, "Dude." A short purple-haired boy jumps out of his seat. "We're going to be in the same class. That's awesome." Why, Izuku wasn't used to this. "I'm Minta." He holds out his hand. Midoriya Izuku then, with some hesitation, shakes. The chatter of the class slowly picks back up. "I can't thank you enough for helping me. I was terrified." It's nothing, Izuku feels eyes on him, ally. His eyes sweep the classroom. For a second, fear strikes through him when he recognizes the popular brunette from before. Then his eyes lock with empty space, or rather the space above an empty set of clothes, as if worn by someone invisible. The clothes jerk and suddenly twist slightly. Now Izuku's really afraid. What has he done? What had he done? Wait, he knows her. He saved her. And then took his shirt off. Did she think he was hitting on her? Did she see his many scars and think he was dangerous? No, she probably thinks he's pathetic for letting people leave so many scars on him. Izuku sits down in the nearest chair and curls up. "I've been standing here for 3 minutes," a voice suddenly says dryly. The class turns. A disheveled man stands in the back of the class. "Your situational awareness is pathetic." He then confidently strolls to the front. "I'm Mr. Aizawa. I'll be your homeroom teacher. We have assigned seating. You have 5 seconds. A scramble. Izuku wants to raise his hand and ask about assigned seating. "Wait," asks a pink girl with horns. "What is the assigned seating?" "That was a test you all failed." He smiles. It's a frightening smile. "Now let's go." He walks out the door. The class streams after him. Sir," says a tall black-haired girl. "Where are we going?" "We're going to have a little fitness test. Now here is the locker room. You'll find gym clothes inside. Take the door out the back." Great, Izuku thinks, changing. As he enters the room. Well, at least he'll be humiliated somewhere nice looking. These were genuinely the nicest locker room he had ever seen. He glances at a locker. It has a name on a plate. It wasn't his. Easily, Izuku finds his locker. He lays out his shirt and takes a deep, calming breath. He has to do this quickly. 322 3/4. People are starting to stream out. Go. Midoriya. Izuku sets a personal best for changing shirts. The gym clothes were surprisingly comfortable. He twists experimentally. They breathe very well. And are these shoes? They were light, very light. Wow, Yua is great. As Izuku walks out, he starts taking shaky and hopefully calming breaths. The rest of his class already waiting. In front of them, Aizawa. The Board of Education has a fitness test, but they don't let you use your quirk. That's illogical. Today we see what you can really do. Awesome, this is going to be so fun. Fun? Fun, you say? The teacher asks, being a hero isn't fun. That's why, in order for you all to take this seriously, if you don't impress me and get last place, you're expelled. The teacher's eyes fall right onto Izuku. The boy swallows. He's used to teachers hating him. Oh my god, says the pink girl. I am so sorry, guys. Izuku finds himself at the starting line of a 50-meter dash. To his left, the pink girl, to his right, Mainta, the frog girl, and the invisible girl. Go. Izuku sprints, barely keeping pace with the girl to his left, skating on some sort of slime. The frog girl reached the finish line with 2 hops. Mainta bounces away, leaving everyone but her in the dust. Izuku ties for third. Midoriya's heart sinks until he realizes out of the whole class, he's in 6th. Maybe he will pass. That errant thought is quickly beaten to death when he scores 11th in grip strength. Yet hope yet lives when he scores 7th in the standing long jump. Followed soon by scoring 3rd in side jumps. Right behind Mainta and ahead of a girl who had been underperforming up until this point, does a surprisingly effective mimicry of Mainta's trick using 2 large mushrooms. First place, as with all the other events, goes to an orange-haired girl with a strength and gaintification quirk. She'd only been slowed down by the grip strength because her hands grow at a faster rate, and they needed to find a bigger machine. She was dominating, until the brunette got an infinity on the ball throw. Izuku has so many questions about her quirk. Furthering the upset, Izuku scored number 2 on the flexibility test behind the frog girl Tsu. Izuku then faces his own upset when the invisible girl scored ahead of him in pull-ups and sit-ups. She was a beast, getting 2nd in both. That being said, the last event, the fitness gram pacer test, Izuku was starting to actually have some fun. Rumi had trained him in agility and endurance hard, so, outside of Mainta and the orange girl, no one could keep pace with him. Although the frog girl gave a good showing. But eventually all things end. First, Mainta fell behind. Jumping from ball to ball was energy efficient, but he lacked the stamina to keep up. Then Izuku faltered. As he lay there on the ground panting, he smiled. Sure, his teacher hates him, and his classmates scare him. But thanks to the runner's high, he had a good time. A genuine good time. All right, the teacher says. You all impressed me, congratulations. Now take a shower. We're going over the syllabus in class. He then walks away. Well, that was anticlimactic, someone says. Suddenly, there's a hand in Izuku's periphery. He flinches. It's the big 6-armed guy. You okay, man? Why, yeah, gee, give me a minute. And I actually go on without? He's pulled to his feet. That guy was out of line. I'm sure he has out best intentions at heart. Sure he does. The two start walking. Hey, are you that Midoriya Izuku? What are you talking about? The older one. A pause. Well, if you are him, it's cool that you made it. We quirk diverse have to stick together. Thank you. My name's Shoji, by the way. I'm Midoriya B. But you already knew that. Izuku laughs nervously. LL, let's get to class. After a not-so-brief lecture on the syllabus, which includes slides and informative videos, it was time for lunch. Izuku was yet again terrified. Terrified as he waited in line, terrified as he got his food, and he was certainly terrified when Minta waves him down. But if Izuku spent all his time avoiding what he was scared of, he'd never leave the house, so he sits down. As the two begin to eat, Shoji sits down. Hey, he says. Minta, this Shoji. Nice to meet you. Hi, another voice says softly. Can I sit here? It was the invisible girl. Minta scoots over while Midoriya gets up to leave, only to be held down by Shoji. The girl says to Midoriya directly. I'm Hagakure. I'm not sure you remember me. Why, yes, Izuku braces himself. Thanks for saving me. Huh, Izuku was baffled. Oh, he saved you too? Asks Minta chipperly. Yeah, I was stuck under a big rock, and the 0-pointer was. Wow, that must have been terrifying. It was. I don't know how he did it. The two looked to Izuku. Move faster, the end your fears. A pause. Well, starts Shoji. We're all friends here, let's see what we have in common. I'm Shoji, I like the summer, and want to be a hero to help progress society. Oh, I'm Hagakure. I'm more of a winter girl, and I want to be a hero for personal reasons, but I do like summer flowers. I'm Minta, I really like spring, and I want to become brave. I'm Midoriya, I guess I like any season really. I've always wanted to be like All Might. Okay, favorite book, Hagakure fires off. I've always liked slice of life manga, Izuku adds tentatively. Me too, adds Minta. Same here, Shoji states. Hagakure snickers. I actually really like cheesy shonen. Minta nods his head. My mom says it's sexist. But I've read a few. Oh my god, it's so sexist, Hagakure agrees. The girls never do anything. But it's so fun. Minta and Hagakure share a laugh. Does anyone play video games? Izuku hazards. Dating sims and visual novels, says Shoji. I'm more into shooters, Minta adds. Oh, do you play COD? Shoji asks. Sometimes. Nice, we should add each other. How about you, Midoriya? Fighting games. Huh, Hagakure adds. I can see it. Do you get all try hard? No, I mostly like getting into the flow of it. Minta holds up his drink. To a gamer's best friend, Flo states, everyone toasts. Wait, what about you, Hagakure? Midoriya asks. I only really play party games. Her hand moves behind her head, as if she's rubbing the back of her neck. Okay, hidden talents, Minta asks. I can wiggle my ears, Hagakure states. Can you see yourself? Midoriya asks. No. Shoji clears his throat, then two of his hands morph into mouths and harmonize. Wow, says Hagakure. That was awesome, Minta says, while Izuku nods his head. Hey Shoji, are you done with that bottle? Minta asks. Shoji hands it over. Watch this, Minta then throws the bottle a third of the way across the cafeteria straight into a garbage can. Dang, how didn't you dominate the ball throw? Minta sighs, accuracy is not range. How about you, Midoriya? Hagakure asks. I can do cartwheels. I can't do cartwheels, Shoji confesses. Midoriya felt like he was going to faint. 3 new people willing to spend time with him. His life felt like a dream. Suddenly an alarm blares. The dream is a nightmare, there's chaos. As quickly as the chaos starts, it's ended with one titanic collapse. All right, everyone, shouts the orange-haired girl. Kendo. Let's remain calm. We're surrounded by pro-heroes, we are safe. Look outside is just reporters. Outside, present Mike can be seen suplexing a reporter who had presumably done something extra to warrant it. Other reporters are tripping over each other to flee for the gate. Yua is weird, but Izuku just might like it. The second half of the school day was taken up by a shortened full-class schedule. Applied math, history through the lens of art, applied science, English and literature. And then the hero-focused classes Rescue First Aid and Hero Law. They were told that on alternating days, the would have ethics instead of English and lit and fundamentals of heroics, instead of first aid and hero law. Izuku thought the combination of English and literature into one class was interesting. By the end of the semester, they would learn enough to read an English translation of a Japanese children's novel. Then, in English, discuss the merits of that translation. Given the specialization heroes needed, it made sense for some general education classes to pull double duty. That's not even touching on history through the lens of art. Midnight was truly an inspired and inspiring teacher. He had never felt this good about school. His life was looking up. He opened the door to his home. Surprise! Izuku screams like a little girl. Surprise! Yelled the Usajima family, the Yoguros, Inko, Centipter, and Rumi's lawyer. To which Midoriya Izuku screamed shrilly. Rumi and her brother and sister, as well as Aklok's daughter, all burst out laughing. I'm sorry, haha ppfff, Mizuki chalks out. We shouldn't be laughing. The laughter slowly dies out. Come on in, kid, Rumi yells. Tell us all about your day. Izuku feels a little overwhelmed by all these people. But he knows them all. They are safe. So Izuku walks through yet another door. Taking off his shoes, he starts. It was nice. The classes are interesting. Midnight of all people is a teacher, and she's amazing. She took us into a fake cave to make wall paintings as she lectured about prehistory. Wait, Mary covers Kay's ears. The R-rated hero teaches. And is good at it, apparently, adds Oguro. What else, Inko asks. Did you make any friends? Inko dear, it's the first. Rumi starts. I did. Rumi freezes, turns, charges, hugs, and spins. We're so proud of you, people are clapping. Izuku was starting to feel self-conscious. Before his mother adds to the hug, and then Mizuki. So, starts Oguro, are we going to party or not? Tsuyoshi looks at him. I know exactly what you're thinking. Grilling, they say together before heading to the backyard. Wait, you put a grill in my backyard? Rumi asks. No, clarifies Oguro. We brought 2 grills. Dad's burgers are so good, says Mizuki and Tamao simultaneously. Jinx, calls Mizuki. Everyone streams into the backyard. I could definitely eat. Regrowing most of one's body has left me with quite the appetite, elaborates Kamen-san. How did you survive anyway? Mary asks. Well, turns out my weak shape-shifting quirk is actually a healing quirk. Awfully convenient that you didn't know about this until now. Implies Mary. Yes, quite serendipitous. It's almost as if I were avoiding the paperwork. Aren't you a lawyer? It's almost as if I was avoiding the paperwork. Centipter, for his part, has been mostly silent. Despite the colorful bow tie, he doesn't seem particularly happy to be here. Still, he shares a pat on the back and a congratulations to Izuku. Outside, Oguro and Tsuyoshi have already started grilling, both holding a beer in one hand. So, asks a Tamao, flanked by Mizuki, to Izuku, tell us about these friends of yours. Inko hearing the inquiry and walks closer. Well, they're Minta, he's nice and faces his fears a lot. Then there's Shoji, he's a bro? Izuku wonders if he's using the term right. And then there's Hagakure she. Izuku is interrupted by Tamao loudly saying, oh, a girl. Why, yeah. Tamao, don't tease the boy, Mary demands. You're not my mom. Ha, you tell her, Rumi contributes. From where she stands pushing Kay as she clings to Rumi's punching bag like a koala. And she's outgoing? And I kind of saved her life, so I'm actually really scared that that's the only reason she's been staying with. Tamao laughs. Kid, you're cute and good shape and saved her life. She has a crush. WW what? No, I mean who could have a crush on me? Tamao and Mizuki flinch after being very suddenly reminded about how low Izuku's self-esteem actually is. Inko hugs him, rocking slightly. Is he okay? Calls Rumi. Yes, Izuku says, kind of unsure of what's happening right now. Oguro and Tsuyoshi were talking about old dad things like watching your kids grow up. How the old days were better in some ways. The obligatory praising of All Might for making things so much more peaceful, and how best to grill. That last topic got briefly heated, much like the meats. Haruki walked up to them and suggested the dumbest grilling advice he could think of. His, "Have you tried pouring Coke on it?" got both grillers back on the same page. Haruki walks away satisfied with a job well done. "Burgers are ready," declares Oguro. "Mine aren't," clarifies Tsuyoshi. "You can't rush this." The burgers were good, but soon a consensus was reached that Tsuyoshi's were better. Oguro nurses a beer as his daughter slumps over while being consoled by Mizuki. Suddenly, Izuku's sick of being the center of attention. "Kei, what are you doing?" "I'm a koala rower," she says from behind a plate of lettuce. "Oh, are koalas your favorite animal?" "Uh-huh. They eat leaves." She goes back to eating lettuce. The night was fun. Eventually, Kei had to go to sleep and Centipter drifted off. Oguro hobbles home as his daughter stays late chatting with Mizuki. Inko falls asleep before Kei does and Rumi carries her upstairs. The chairs are packed away, the grills are doused. The night slowly winds down. Izuku Midoriya falls asleep after the greatest day he has had in a decade. School, Midoriya was quickly learning, was actually kind of shockingly great. He actually had friends, classes were fun and challenging, and he was surprisingly well prepared for hero law and first aid. Sure, his homeroom teacher was hypercritical of his mistakes, but that was old news. Shoji always says he's an ass, but then in Midoriya's experience, so are most teachers. Seriously, Hagakure says, while the four wait for the applied math teacher to walk in. "He's so mean to you." As she talks and gesticulates, parts of her outfit seem to blur and fade into invisibility. What is his problem? I'm sure it's nothing. Teachers tend to not like me. In their little group, a pin could drop, and they would hear it. "Dude, what?" Minta asks, some level of horror in his voice. Shoji's fist shakes as he clenches it. "Do you?" Hagakure hesitates to ask, "Deal with this often?" Midoriya opens his mouth to answer. "All right, class." The voice of Snipe Sensei calls out as he walks through the door. "It's time for math." Between applied math and history through the lens of art, the conversation picks up again. "What's not to like about you?" asks Hagakure. "You're smart, you're nice, you're a natural hero. You're very you have a cool quirk." Izuku's heart races and sinks. She thinks he has a quirk. Of course, why else would someone spend time with him? Except Shoji, he's a bro. He was so stupid and useless, and some of it's got to be dedication and training. Shoji, before further diverting the topic, "What is your workout routine?" "I start my day with a lot of stretches and a quick 5K. Then I do calisthenics whenever I can." Midnight bursts in wearing a fur tunic. It's cave time. They all exit the classroom and head to a bit of woods. Cementos man-made cave awaits. It was time for the lesson on the late Stone Age. "What about workout days?" Hagakure asks as they walk back to class. "You said you do a 5K every day." I do a 10K, kick my punching bag for an hour, then some yoga." "That's impressive." Hagakure flexes her arm, muscles bulging. "I mostly do stealth and weight training. I'm all about power." "Oh, we have to arm wrestle," adds Shoji. "You people scare me," Minta jokes. The four laugh as they head to the science room. It's easier to keep the specialized equipment in one place. After class, Hagakure continues. "What about you, Minta?" "I have a gym membership, so mostly kickboxing and gymnastics." "Really, gymnastics?" asks Shoji. "I always have a spring board," Minta says, pointing at his hair. "How about you?" The giant octopus-like man shrugs. "I have some dumbbells, and I run laps around my town with them." "Oh, I should try that," Izuku adds excitedly. "You know, Izuku," Hagakure says, "it's really interesting that you don't use any weights." "Why is that?" "Well, my TRT. Yet teacher doesn't like dealing with all that equipment when you can just. He starts doing walking lunges as they move. Shoji again shrugs and joins him, followed by Hagakure and Mainta. Tetsutetsu and Kirishima, the class's twins in another life, join in. Pretty soon the entire class is lunging back to their classroom. They devolve into giggles and laughs, even as their legs start to burn. After English and literature, they have lunch. So I hear our costumes are coming in today, Hagakure comments. What did you guys design? Shoji simply says, "Leetard." Midoriya blushes, "Am mostly just a leetard too." Hagakure whips her head towards Izuku. "I couldn't think of anything," says Mainta. "At least you get to wear something. My quirk kind of leaves me naked." "What?" Mainta yells. "That's so messed up. Don't they have anything for you to wear? What about breast support? What about the cold? What about?" "Wow," says Hagakure, joking. They're all looking at her. Check this out. She takes a napkin and pushes it up to her face. It disappears. "Just don't tell anyone. It's way more fun this way. But it's nice that you care this much. My mom's a dyed-in-the-wool feminist. It's hard not to care." "Nice man." Hagakure presumably extends a fist. "Respect," she says, borrowing on of Shoji's moves. Soon, with a detour to ethics, it's time for Fundamentals of Heroics, All Might Edition. For all the hype of him being on staff, he's more of a guest lecturer and would only teach on occasion. Today is one such occasion. They were instructed to change into their hero costumes, which, true to Hagakure's rumor milling, have finally come in. Izuku's costume was green, with brown and yellow highlights. The yellow paying double duty as a reference to Miruko and All Might. It, much like Miruko, was a torso-covering leotard, although his also covered his upper arm and upper thighs. Instead of the strange thigh-high stockings Miruko wore, he wore heavy-duty boots going up to his mid-calf. Lastly, he knew his mother would have a fit if he didn't also have goggles, a codpiece, and knee and elbow pads. His only real piece of support equipment was a yo-yo-like grappling hook Oguro-sensei gave him. He felt a little silly, and relieved that it covered as much of his back and shoulders as he hoped. Midoriya Izuku, in his best imitation of a confident strut, walks out to join his class. The costume that most stood out was Ochako's, a bulky pink and white space suit with cat ears. The only thing not quite to theme was his bulk mittens. They had thick armored slabs on them. Ochako's bare fingers could be seen when she opens her palm to wave at her friends. Her natural finger pads look like a cat's toe beans. "Wow, Ochako," Mina calls, going to space. "I wish, but no. That looks really heavy," Kirishima adds. "Only if it needs to be." "Manly," Tetsu exclaims. "Welcome to the Armor Bros." "Thanks. They're Class 9 plates," Ochako exclaims excitedly, before smacking her chest. "And it has liquid cooling system. I love not having to worry about gravity." "Wow," says Kirishima in awe. Mina laughs. "Is Class 9 a big deal?" "I've always wanted to be a Class 9 plate," says Tetsu. "It's like the holy grail of body armor. They use it in battle matches." "How thick?" Kirishima elaborates excitedly. "Over an inch in some places." "That's got to weigh like a ton," Tetsu adds in awe. 250 pounds. "Bro," says Kirishima. "Bro," agrees Tetsu. Before they could continue to geek out about battle armor, a booming laugh rings out. Suddenly a man, or more accurately a demigod masquerading as a wall of muscle and blonde hair, flips over a building into a standing position in front of them. "Wow," his voice booms out, a deep tone that rumbles chests. "You all look like heroes. Now let's see if you can act the part." Today we will be splitting into teams of 2. One team to play the villains who have to protect their dastardly nuclear bomb, while the other side heroes, who have to either incapacitate the villains or secure the bomb. Yamomo raises her hand. "Yes. Isn't it unbecoming to play villains?" "I should hope not. Otherwise I have a lot to answer for." A booming laugh. "We can learn and have fun at the same time, can't we?" Wu calls out Kaminari as sparks shimmer off him. Now then, let's draw lots. He holds up 2 boxes. Izuku, much to his relief, gets paired with Shoji, only to quickly pivot to horror, as he has to go up against the popular girl in Class 9 plates and Zero, controlling gravity unlimited sticky tape. They were doomed. So he did the only reasonable thing and asked All Might, "Sir, are we allowed to leave the building with the bomb?" Another booming laugh. Clever. But in a real-world situation, 2 villains running down the street with a large bomb would get swarmed by heroes. It was a hallowed blessing that Shoji and he are given time to prepare. The bomb was large. There were very few places they could put it. In thinking, we keep the bomb away from windows. Good idea. There's a dead-end hallway we could shove it into. That would at least give them less angles of attack. We should also barricade it. Can't she cancel gravity? Yes, but she still has to move the boxes. As the 2 barricade, Midoriya spots a fire extinguisher. Shoji here. You could use this for maneuvering if she gets you, or try fogging up that face shield. Whatever else Shoji was going to say is cut off by a buzzer. Shoji's hands morph into large ears. He had a very versatile quirk. They came in through a window upstairs. Wait. He points his hands down. That must be Zero. I might be able to take Zero, but no, if he gets up here his tape might work in our favor. One of you needs to stall Ochako. Shoji stretches out his hands, easily touching both walls. I can maneuver. He runs upstairs surprisingly quietly for someone his size. Midoriya waits. There is 1 staircase, 1 elevator shaft, and a fire escape. But the fire escape is near the elevators. He's going to need room to avoid Zero's tape. Midoriya plants himself in an intersection. Then rounding the corner is one of the scariest things he's ever seen. A 5'1" girl charging in 250 pounds of Class 9 plates. Correction, a 5'1" girl charging at him as if she wasn't wearing an 80th ton of Class 9 plates and body armor. Midoriya charges to meet her. Bouncing off a wall, Izuku jumps over her. Then, while her back was still turned, sweeps her legs. She hits the ground deceptively lightly before her hand shoots out. Izuku was already moving. The fundamental rule of capoeira was to never stop moving. Unfortunately, it's easier to charge forward than dance backwards. With a mistimed jump and an unlucky swipe, Izuku hits the ceiling. Izuku kicks off the wall and tries to stomp on her head, only for something truly unusual to happen. Izuku, weighing nothing, has just with all his force tried to move something that weighs infinitely more than him. Izuku, having no weight, essentially doesn't carry momentum, so he stops dead without it hurting anyone but his already non-existent pride. Midoriya is grabbed, flipped around, and thrown down the hall. Izuku throws his grappling hook. Izuku throws the grappling hook he has barely used. It goes wide and bounces harmlessly off the window. Uraraka is charging. Not quite as fast as the yo-yo hook can retract though. Not that it helps him much, as there's nothing to grab onto. He hears a scream. Both he and Uraraka glance. There is Zero hanging by his tape out the window behind them. He waves. Izuku and Uraraka wave back. Uraraka turns the corner towards the bomb. Izuku frantically swims in the air, making little progress, but still moving. Shoji grabs him as he runs. Hero team wins. Gravity reasserts itself. That was pretty great, guys, calls out Uraraka. Zero gives a thumbs up from the window. Sorry for accidentally throwing you out that window, Shoji calls to Zero. It's cool, he calls back before he slides downward out of view. Back in the viewing area, All Might asks the class, who was the MVP of the exercise? Midoriya, Hagakure suggests. He came up with most of the plan and stalled Uraraka. Sorry man, says Shoji. It's got to be Zero. Our plan would have worked if his stomping hadn't convinced me he was Uraraka. That was her idea, Zero counters. Uraraka won, so it should be her, suggests Kaminari. Suddenly Cementos runs in. Stop. All Might, I gave you a year 2 lesson plan. Everyone is looking at him. Too soon for this. You all need to cover quirk and sparing safety, as well as costume checks and finish the first aid unit before there's any actual fighting. All Might pales. Well, is everyone all right? Zero raises his hand. I think I strained my elbow a little when Shoji accidentally, he stresses, knocked me out a window. See, yells Cementos. Sorry man, says Shoji again. Well, class dismissed? Asks All Might. Cementos claps his hands together. Congratulations, you now have an hour and a half free homework period. Now go get changed out of your costumes. And Zero go to recovery girl pronto. Responding to Shoji, Zero says, water under the bridge, it was an accident. Although I wouldn't say no to you carrying my backpack. As the school day comes to an end, Hagakure makes a suggestion. We should totally do something. We're ahead on homework. Great idea, agrees Minta. I'll need to text my mom. In game, says Shoji. Midoriya, do you want to come? Sure, we're TT2. A pause. I'm kind of hungry, says Shoji. Oh, squeals Hagakure. I know this great cat cafe. In walking distance. No one's allergic, right? It took Izuku 5 minutes to realize where they were going. The cat cafe next door to the Luna agency. Please no one notice me, please no one notice me, he internally pleaded as he walked in the door. A cat meows and quickly trots up to Hagakure. Thing to my baby, my precious bean. How I missed you. Come on guys, let's sit down. She turns to the cashier. My usual please and table for 4. As the group sits down, Thing 2 stays basically glued to Hagakure. Wow, she really liked you, Minta says. Yep. Walking by is Sprungles. Midoriya, as is customary, picks him up like a ferret. Dude, says Shoji, you're not supposed to hold cats like that. Oh, he likes it, supplies Hagakure. I didn't know you've been here before. Yeah, my teacher loves this place. That's so cool. It's crazy that Miruko set up her agency next door. Oh, Shoji says, giving Midoriya a knowing look. I wonder, Minta wonders, if we'll see her. Midoriya scrunches up in his chair. Oh, do you have a crush on her, teases Hagakure. Minta stutters before looking away, blushing. I mean, who doesn't? Oh my god, Midoriya thinks, please kill me. Yeah, Hagakure agrees. I can tell you for a fact she's quite a few girls' sexual awakening. Shoji, the bro that he is straining not to laugh at Midoriya's expense. How about you, Midoriya? Asks Hagakure. Do you like muscular women? Midoriya is blushing a very bright red. This was a mistake. He should have gone home. I don't think I've ever had a crush on her. Oh, then, who is your celebrity crush? Midoriya could say All Might, as he does get the appeal of strong lovers. But All Might's their teacher, and that would be very, very weird, so he goes with his other celebrity crush. I guess Empty Lady? Oh, says Hagakure emotionlessly, you like skin-tight clothing. I do see the appeal of Giant Lady, Shoji says, trying to damage control. The power dynamics alone. Minta nods his head. Wait, hold on, says Hagakure. You're Mr. Feminist, you don't have anything to say about this. Finding people attractive doesn't mean you see them as lesser. It's actually really important to have a healthy relationship with your sexuality. Plus, as a short guy, I can't not get the appeal of tall girls. Why, yeah, definitely, Midoriya stutters out. You're not that short, dude. Shoji insists. And then, as if the universe itself was laughing at him, Miruko walks through the door. Hey, can I get a pro hero? Miruko's voice stops. Guys, Hagakure says in disbelief, she's staring at us. Miruko at her core is a troublemaker. Hold that though, she says before beelining towards the group of friends. Hi Bunny. Izuku slumps over, defeated by the cruelty of the universe. As Rumi hugs the boy, everyone but Shoji looks on in dawning horror. Shoji, the bro that he is, manages to not bursts out laughing. Guys, says Izuku as Rumi sits down, This is my teacher Rumi. Hi, Rumi says. You must be Izuku's friends. He's told me so much about you. Shoji, being the only one not blindsided, acts. Yes, ma'am, that is correct. So Minta says, while Hagakure tries to melt with the floor, how do you two know each other? Izuku hesitates, dating my mom. Oh wow, says Hagakure. Oh wow. Yeah, I know him, a pretty big deal, brags Rumi. So you three are hero students? Yes, ma'am, again, says Shoji. None of that ma'am stuff, call me Yuzujama. Do you have any advice, asks Minta. About what? Overcoming fears. Ah, there's a trick to that. Move faster than your fears, and if your fears catch you, get mad about it. Then all you have to worry about is keeping your head. Do you, Shoji asks slowly, have any advice for people like me? Rumi pauses. I've mostly been motivated by spite as far as social stigma goes. So I guess if you make a name for yourself once, they don't try to drag you down as much. Rumi makes an apologetic face. Oh, and prepare for fetishists. Minta visibly blushes as Hagakure invisibly blushes. How about you, Rumi asks, looking at Hagakure. She pauses. It's a good long pause. What do you do if you have a goal that you know you can't reach? No goal worth having is easily within reach. So I guess dedication. Also, she looks to the rest of them. Don't be like All Might. Take days off and have a life outside of your goals. Oh, and learn to kick. Then she gets up, places her order, and leaves. The first to react is Hagakure with a loud groan. We had a prolonged discussion about how sexy your parental figure is, didn't we? Why, yay, Midoriya stutters out. Shoji bro, that he doesn't laugh, and instead lends a comforting shoulder pat to his friends. As the weeks went on, Class 1A got busy. First, they had a student election, which Kendo won handily after getting everyone to agree to not vote for themselves with Shoji as the VP. He still doesn't know how that happened. Class 1 also finished their first aid unit, costume safety checks, sparring etiquette, quirk safety, a swimming competency unit, and a myriad of other minutiae wrapped up under the umbrella of heroic fundamentals. They were finally ready for more hands-on training. Not like All Might's first class. No, they were going to focus in on rescue work. The class is on its way to the OSG, a large domed structure used to simulate disaster scenarios. It isn't directly connected to campus for security reasons, as various emergency personnel and other hero schools often book the space. Once in a blue moon, it's used for movie shoots and birthdays of very, very rich people. Much to Uraraka's amazement, the space-themed rescue hero 13 is one of the heroes who will be training them, along with their homeroom teacher and the last-minute addition of Cementos, who honestly didn't look like he wanted to be there. Mina hazards a, "This is going to be so cool," when she feels comfortably outside of Mr. Aizawa's hearing range. As the class files in, the 13 begins to speak. Hero work at its heart is about saving people, be it from criminals, natural disasters, or even emotional crises. Today we are going to cover one of those things. Suddenly a thick metal curtain slams down over the door. Huh, she says. Cementos slaps his hands against the ground as a black mist portal deposits about 70 villains. A wall shoots up from the ground. 13, get that door open, shouts Mr. Aizawa before putting on his goggles and turning to his students. These are villains. Stay together, stay calm, and we will get through this. Tetsu and Kirishima activate their quirks. One's skin turns to metal, the other's turns jagged and hard. Kendo grows a foot as Uraraka slams the visor down on her body armor. 13's quirk, the creation of localized, miniaturized black holes, thankfully with an off switch, is chewing through the wall next to the door, just far enough away to not suck up the students in its ever-present, ever-growing gravity. Not getting cell reception, calls out Cementos as Mr. Aizawa clings to a pole and activates his quirk. Kendo, break the door open and run for help. Cementos tosses her his comm. But before she can catch it, Mr. Azawa blinks. The class is scattered. Yaomomo was decidedly not having a good day. She came to this decision as she landed hard on an indoor mountain slope. Oh, she thinks, a villain is charging me. She was not afraid. She has planned for such occasions. From her back, she pulls out a single-barrel grenade launcher, in her hand a beanbag round. It makes a very satisfying sound both when it's fired and when the beanbag round connects. Briefly she pauses, then she straps a brace around her rolled ankle that was not there a moment ago. She had planned for battlefield injuries too, after all. Sliding another round into the chamber, she looks around. Slightly above her, the electrical Kaminari was swinging a metallic bull whip around with reckless abandon. He didn't need attention right now. Below her is Jiru doing a shockingly effective impression of an earthquake. Too impressive judging by how much the ground behind her is shaking. Yeomum yells, "Jiru, stop the mountain." The girl looks up and sees her two classmates. Yaomomo fired a round over Jiru's head, hitting a particularly stubborn villain. Yaomomo pauses before placing her newest round in the chamber. She does a quick 360, then concentrates. She quickly creates 5 new rounds and places them within already present ammunition holders. As Jiru walks up, Yaomomo simply asks, "Are you capable of identifying targets when your vision is obscured?" Yes. Jiru is handed a gas mask. Kaminari, for his part, was keeping at bay 3 villains until a 4th charges him. Seemingly indifferent to the electricity, Yaomum and Jiru sprint. But it's too late. The villain has their classmate by the neck. Electricity sparks between them. "Hands where I can see them, or the kid gets it." "Oh, Momo thinks I don't have a plan for this." "Great," says the villain. "Now you 2 little Richie Riches are coming with me." "Do you intend to ransom us?" Yaomomo asks coolly. The villain chuckles, among other things. Yaomomo realized that she had never considered facing villains who would actively seek out a class full of children like this. Yaomomo begins to panic. Cementos was probably boned. He was surrounded by water and has received a bite wound before Shoji could pull him onto the fake yacht. With them is also Tetsu, someone who was in all likelihood equally boned, and Komori, whose mushroom powers could be useful. Cementos claps his hands together. "Let's get to work. This boat is meant to sink, but the lifeboats and flotation devices aren't." Tetsu, Shoji, gather up as many flotation devices and rope as you can. Komori, let's get some oars. As the 2 swiftly walk, he asks her, "How much water is too much water for your mushrooms?" To which Komori says, "If there's an opening, they can grow inside people." Cementos smiles, "They're going to be just fine." Midoriya Izuku was used to fire, used to pain. So when he found himself inside a large simulated inferno, he felt just fine. His clothes were even fireproof. His fellow student Sue, on the other hand, looked like she was dying. Midoriya Izuku slings Sue onto his back and sprints. Hero uniforms are basically all fire resistant, so it really comes down to how quickly Izuku can get them both out of here. The main principle of Parker is momentum. He runs, dashing past villains, past fire hazards, over pits, under beams, through windows. Before he knew it, they were out of the fire zone. Midoriya Izuku comes face to face with a villain. "Wait," the villain says, "are you Miruko's kid?" "Why, yeah." The villain holds up both hands and backs away. Then he looks back. Conflicted emotions flash across his face. "Sorry, kid. It's not personal." Midoriya turns and runs. "He's over here." The villain, both having decided that he had fulfilled his contractual obligation and decided that he didn't want to risk earning Miruko's ire, decides the opposite side of the SJ is where he should be. As he runs in the opposite direction, he sees a big-handed kid going toe-to-toe with their All Might killer. She clearly wasn't anywhere near as strong, but she had the guy by technique in spades. The weird guy with a scarf seemed to be giving their leader and his easy ticket home some trouble. While a third villain was getting quite literally curb stomped by 2 punk rockers, and at a third student. You know what the villain thinks. In going home, after some looking, he finds a giant hole in the foundation of the dome. He doesn't look a gift horse in the mouth, and he sprints for it. Behind him, he hears a door burst open thunderously. I am here. The man throws his gear into the giant pool and sprints like his life depended on it. Midoriya didn't know why the villains wanted him in particular, but they definitely did. While still carrying Sue, he had already outrun 2 villains, barreled through a third that had tried to cut him off. Finally remembering his yo-yo hook, he catches some rebar sticking out of the ruins of a fake highway overpass and swings. While he is in the air, he spots Kirishima, Uraraka, and Mina protecting 13, who is hopefully just unconscious. Lungs burning, still carrying Sue, being chased by 4 villains, he runs towards an impressive wall Uraraka managed to construct, blocking off the road. Before the villains can reach him, the human tank manages to jump down and bodily hurl her 2 classmates over the wall. Kirishima, she yells while punching a villain with her heavy armored fist. Midoriya gently places Sue next to 13 in a recovery position. Then as Kirishima jumps off the wall, Midoriya runs to join Mina in a fight. After earning a cartwheel into a kick that knocked a villain down and out, Midoriya realized just how tired he is. He is tired, winded, burn, and drench, but the first rule of capoeira is to never stop moving. A boom in the distance, I am here. It took Yagi Toshinori 20 minutes to realize his life was a nightmare. 1 minute to get to the to 1 minute to incapacitate all the villains in the building. Another minute to get back to UA before he pulls something or tears something. Then another 17 minutes for his protege to get to him and open her mouth. I need to talk to you, she says. What's wrong, my girl? I know you said that there's only one transferable quirk, but are you sure? A pit of fear is opening where his stomach should be. Why do you ask? Kendo looks like she's going to be sick. When I was fighting Namu, he was so fast and strong, but punching him didn't feel like punching anything, and I flipped him. Sensei, I heard a snap. I saw the arm bend in 2 places, and then suddenly it was whole again. Yagi coughs blood. Sit down, please. He wipes his mouth, then swallows, then suppresses a scream of anguish. Long ago, there were 2 brothers. One was seemingly quirkless, the other the opposite. He could give and take quirks. Yagi stops, then starts the story anew. I don't believe people are born evil, but whatever hardship he faced and temptations he felt twisted him into something rotten. One day he gives his brother a quirk, maybe as a bid to control him, maybe as an attempt to help him. That quirk merged with his invisible quirk, creating one for all. As one brother grew more and more power-hungry, the other brother tried to stop him. He turned one for all into a tool to defeat all for one. I had hoped I had finished the job. Kendo is white as a sheet. I can take it back if you want me to. You shouldn't have that target on your back. Kendo pauses to find her resolve. No, you can't win, not on your own. Kendo, he pleads, you're a child. This shouldn't be your fight. Yagi-sensei, I came to this school to be a hero. If he's a villain, I would still fight him eventually. Yagi manages a bitter chuckle and a genuine smile. He can practically hear Nana's voice. You picked well, Toshi. Yahai-sensei stands. You and your family should stay at Might Tower for now. The 2 march out the door. Thankfully, Yagi, even in his rail-thin and emaciated form, can be very persuasive. And after explaining that as All Might's mentee, this new villain group with a warper might target her family directly, and after offering a cushy job to help ease the transition, Kendo's parents and sister accepted the invitation to live inside All Might's agency building. He was relieved that Kendo's family would be safe. What kind of mentor wouldn't do such a thing given the situation? The next morning, to Yagi's dismay, he felt heavy, weighed down by dread, fear, regret, and fatigue. Getting out of bed would take effort. Although with Kendo here, the 2 could more easily spar and even work on one for all. Yagi has a quick morning routine. even with time scheduled for existential dread. Today it was because he had stepped on his scale and realized he was still losing weight. Yagi shoves an extra couple specially made food bars into his pockets, MMHHH apple flavored. One of the small mercies of Yagi's situation is that if he moves slowly and doesn't exert himself, he can still passably look like All Might for several extra hours of the day. All Might smiles as he walks. When he reaches his destination, the door opens. "I am here to pick your daughter up for school," he says to Kendo's mother. She laughs. "Somehow I didn't expect this." A booming laugh. "We are neighbors." "Huh," she says. "I suppose we are. How are you all adjusting?" "Hard to say, to be honest, but how nice the apartment is really helps. Have you tried the bath?" She throws seduction into her voice. "It's very nice." No, Yagi thinks not dealing with this. "I am well aware. I have one of my own. I quite enjoy the ice bath feature," he stresses. "Excuse me, Mom," Kendo says, while limboing under her mother's arm, grin plastered across her face. "Was it genuine?" Yagi wishes he could say. As the two ride out in Yagi's old Toyota Champ, he deflates. "You look tired," Kendo notes. "When you're this old, you get tired. You better be eating and drinking enough." Kendo holds up her hand, "or I'll chop you." Yagi laughs, then fishes a water bottle out of his oversized suit. There's a trick to opening one with only one hand. The trick mostly being what to do with the cap after it ends up in your mouth. "Will I see you in class today?" Yagi shakes his head. "I'll be in meetings all day." Kendo puts on some music. She has an amazing talent of coaxing new stations out of the radio. How she found a Latin American station is a mystery. The station only lasts a few blocks before devolving into static. As they get close to Yua, Yagi smiles and reinflates. After they park, All Might springs forth, then strolls with purpose towards the main Yua faculty building. All Might takes great pains to never hurry when being All Might, people seeing him run without clear cause make up one, which usually leads to panic. Inside the conference room is Nedzu. "I'm glad you can finally make it," he says passive-aggressively. "I had to make sure Kendo and her family was safe." Nedzu sighs. "I understand. Now let's rip a band-aid off." After reviewing the footage, it appears the villain known as Namu wielded several quirks. There are several conclusions, all horrible. Suddenly, there's a pounding at the door. A computer monitor folds out of the desk. Nedzu pulls a microphone to his mouth. "I am very busy right now, Miruko. I will contact you at—" "You fought my warper," the hero cuts off. "I'm sorry, whatever do you mean?" "I know that warper, and if he's involved, you need me." Nedzu looks at All Might. He nods his head and bulks up by answer. It would only get harder to be All Might as the day wore on. The door clicks open. "However dangerous you think these people are, double it," are the first words out of Miruko's mouth. "That warper is involved in—" there's no easy way to say this— experiments to make multi-quirked villains. All Might coughs up blood. Miruko pales. The door behind her is thankfully closed. "Are you okay?" "It's chronic." "That's because you never take a vacation." She fires back, oddly invested in his private life. "Please," Nedzu calls, "back on topic, elaborate on what you just said." Miruko sits down. "I've been investigating this thing. I've found labs hidden under clinics and inside hospitals. I got the drop on them and managed to see inside before they could react." There was a body on a table, a patchwork of body parts sewn together. Everything else got warped out by a black cloud. They've kept him on a hair trigger ever since. "Oh dear," Nedzu adds. "You don't know the half of it. I fought one. It was pumped full of trigger and sent to kill me. Custom made even. I don't know how they got it to move, let alone fight." "When you said thing," All Might asks, "what did you mean?" "It's kind of hard to believe." "The boogeyman of the underworld," All Might says. "Yeah, crazy, right? He's been after me for years, I think." "What?" All Might coughs blood again. Yeah, remember when I asked your help with an investigation? Turns out he had an open bounty on me for a while. Then he started sending what seems to be hit teams created to counter me. Even a Frankenstein. With all due respect, Nedzu inquires, what could you have possibly done to earn Sakire? Miruko leans back, shit-eating grin on her face. Turns out I whisked away the wife of one of his lieutenants. Something about that sentence seemed off to Yagi. The Midoriya's boy's mother. Yep. She leans forward, something having occurred to her. Do not be weird about this. They don't know anything. Leave them be. Of course, Nedzu placates. Tell me, are you worried about retaliation? Already happened. My lawyer narrowly escaped death by car bomb. She hold up one finger. The bully's parents are dead, and their kid shanked twice, another finger. Inko was used as live bait before the bounty was cancelled, a third finger. Thankfully Centipter, the Midoriyas and I all moved to US doorstep. Oguro insists he's safe where he is, and my parents live right outside a particularly gun-loving enclave town. So they're safe, hopefully. But, she continues, I'm glad you brought this up. My kid seems to think the villains targeted him specifically. Can you make him a panic button or a tracker? Something so if he needs me I can come. Suddenly a tiredness. A desperation shows through. Yayagi thinks bitterly she's going to fit right in. Hagakure Toru has a very odd morning ritual. When she wakes up in the morning, she checks the camera she keeps pointed at her pillow. Hand, hair, forehead. She inhales sharply, camera turning invisible where she clutches it. Cheekbone. She is so going to print this later. No, scratch that now. Plugging it into her laptop, she boots up the program and feeds paper into her printer. Toru, like many people, suffered from a case of a quirk with no off switch. Hers wasn't particularly impairing, but she could only become partially visible when calm, and being visible excited her, which turned her quirk back up to full. So her solution was sleeping, a camera, and an ultraviolet sensor. Occasionally her face would turn the right way when a patch was visible, and she'd get a piece of a rather beautiful puzzle, if she did say so herself. Taking out her scissors, she cuts carefully. Her heart pounds as she slides the image into her collage. It's finished. Admiring her handiwork, she looks at a 34-side profile of her sleeping face. It was breathtaking. Maybe someday she would work up the courage to share her project. What would Midoriya think? She indulged in a moment of fantasy before getting ready for the day. She knew she wasn't his type, but no goal easily reached was worth having. That being said, she isn't some shonen love interest. She has a life. Morning, Dad. Morning. Her perfectly visibly dad calls from the other side of their small apartment. Probably already hard at work from his home office. Soon, with a pep in her step, she marches on, only to stop dead. A cute little dandelion had bloomed right at the end of her apartment building's walkway. She pulls out her camera. Click. Her train ride was a relatively long one. Toru always wishes she could just nap, but the idea of being seen without consent creeped her out. So instead, she begins to hum to herself as she finishes some last-minute homework. She gets a text from Minta. Min. As a woman, how mad would you be if I read a harem manga? T. Is it well written? Mim. It is accidentally really funny. T. OMG, you can't not share. Min. To kill a lover. Toru cringes. T. Stop reading after the third chapter. It gets really, really uncomfortable. Min. Do I want to know? T. Trust me, you do not. Min. Noted. Near the end of the train ride, she gets another text. Min. Dear God. T. Warned you. Her train pulls into the station. After she walks out, she plants herself in her usual bench. Yo shouts Shoji, whose train just arrived from the countryside. Shoji. The slap their right hands together into a flex off. Well, one of Shoji's right hands. He has two other. This time he cracks first. It's a snicker, then a laugh. Then, as customary, Toru joins him. You know, whatever else Shoji was going to say is cut off by Mainta. Hey Shoji. Hagakure, you were right, it was disturbing. I tried to warn you. What? Asks Shoji. Unintentionally funny harem manga turned nightmare fuel, says Mainta. Dang man. There was body horror. Define body horror, Shoji asks on edge. Someone's head and spine, starts Hagakure, getting slowly ripped from their body over the course of 3 pages, as Stop, begs Mainta. Dear God, says Shoji. Awa, but I didn't even get to the... No, yells Mainta as he shakes his head and waves his arms. I'm with Mainta on this one. Toru lets out an evil laugh. I had warned you. Shoji nods along. She did warn you. Oh, what were you saying, Shoji asks Toru. Oh yeah, it's getting warmer and Midoriya lives nearby. And there's a beach nearby so. Oh, chuckles Mainta. I like where this is going. I'm not usually one for the beach. Admits Toru as the trio starts to walk, tight swim, wear, invisibility, ocean currents. Have you tried men's swimwear? Asks Shoji. That's pretty baggy. Toru slaps herself in the face. How didn't I think of that? It's so obvious. We all have blind spots, Shoji soothes. Now we're definitely going to the beach. Guys, would it be funny if I wore a white t-shirt? Shoji laughs. Huh, says Mainta, that could be political commentary. But what would the message be? Asks Toru. Women should control how and when they get objectified, hazards Shoji. Sexualized, Mainta corrects before making his own suggestion. Society's habit of depersoning women as sex objects. I'm sold on this. We could call it wet t-shirt contest, Toru says. Think we could get Midoriya into one, suggests Mainta teasingly. Toru makes a sound, maybe even a noise, with syllables in it. I thought you were supposed to be an ally. Revenge, cackles Mainta. I wouldn't count on it, says Shoji, but don't worry, I'll wear the white t-shirt. Thanks Shoji, she says with a sigh. I have amazing pecs, Shoji supplies 4 of them, he adds. Wait, just 4. Shoji shrugs, his 2 shoulders attached to 3 arms, each. Bodies are weird. Midoriya Izuku fiddles with his new medical alert bracelet. On paper, he was now allergic to latex. In reality, if he twisted a part of it, pulled it out, then pressed a circuit would close, and it would send out and sus. The class was somber after their brush with villainy, brush with death. They were shaken, scared even, but determined. All right, class, says Aizawa-sensei. We're going to be doing something unethical this week. That was a joke, don't get used to it. We are skipping hero ethics and hero law in order to give you all a crash course on fighting. Tetsu raises his hands. Shouldn't we also skip the Gen Ed classes? No, because some of you, his eyes pivot to Midoriya, understandably might not want to be heroes anymore. Everyone, he continues, get your costumes, we're meeting Class 2B in Grounds Alpha. As the class walks to the locker rooms, a pink-haired, pink-skinned, horned girl saddles up beside Midoriya. Hey Midori, how are you doing? Well, I'm well. Mina looked at him oddly. Those were some sick dance moves the other day. I didn't know break dancing could be used in a fight. It wasn't break dancing. But capoeira is a progenitor to it. Can you teach me? What? She puts her hands together, pretty please. Oh, okay. Nice, she says as the two split up to enter their gym locker rooms. As the group changes, new students come in. One of them stops. Well, the lanky blonde says, Class 1 Agrasingus with their magnanimous presence. Monoma, another boy yells. You are obstructing the class, move at once. He rolls his eyes and steps to the side. Following him in. Oddly, they seem to have more heteromorphic quirks. or at least more striking secondary characteristics. Shoji hoped that wasn't intentional. Oh no, Midoriya realizes more people to worry about. He can't just change in front of all these people. Midoriya, arms shaking, runs towards a bathroom stall, costume case in hand. Oh, can't stand to, the blonde boy starts before a loud slam could be heard. Leave him be, Shoji says, voice as cold as it's angry. Monoma, stop harassing the other class. Midoriya Izuku sits in the stall and just breathes. Minta calls out, are you all right, Midoriya? Jay, just give me a minute. I'll be right out. Ground Alpha isn't called as such because it's close proximity to the main campus. Ground Alpha is called that because it was the first, back when Yua had a shoestring budget and a principal with the ink still drying on his degree. It is relatively small at about 2 football fields pushed together. It is a playground of concrete. A skate park meets a Parker Plaza with several simple and concrete buildings simulating a town street. Ground Alpha had been semi-retired so to its small size, making it easiest to put out of commission. That is until Cementos was hired. Now it's the easiest to get running again, and the second cheapest to maintain. Both classes are already outside waiting by the time Midoriya makes it. He can feel Mr. Aizawa glaring. Are you okay? Hagakure whispers. Why, yeah. All right, class. A voice calls out. I am Kan-sensei. This is Mr. Aizawa. This is Class 1A. This is Class 1B. Hi, Class 1A. Class 1B drones out. Class 1A gives a smattering of confused greetings. For our fist lesson, Tetsutetsu Kaibara. Both boys step forward. Kaibara. He points to an elevated platform. Ken-sensei walks over and whispers something to Tetsutetsu. Then yells out to the class. Kaibara is the best hand-to-hand fighter in Class 1B. Tetsutetsu makes a good training dummy. Whoever knocks the other off the platform wins. As Tetsutetsu walks onto the platform, his skin turns into a dull steel. Kaibara twists his arms, then keeps twisting them, faster and faster, until they're a blur. Tetsutetsu charges. Kaibara meets him. A fist flies onto an armored stomach. A grinding noise. Tetsutetsu muscles forward, knocking Kaibara back. Then, while Kaibara is staggered, hits him with a vicious gut punch. The air is forced from his lungs. Kaibara retaliates, arms whipping wind as he swings. Tetsutetsu staggers back, then presses forward. There's a horrible grinding sound. Tetsutetsu pins Kaibara onto the ground. Say, Uncle Bro. Never. Manly. Tetsutetsu then picks Kaibara up and throws him out of the ring. Good job, both of you, shouts Ken-sensei. Now who can tell me why Kaibara lost? A green-haired girl in purple raises her hand, blows a kiss Monoma, and says, Class 1A's inherent superiority. The entire class bursts into laughter. Let's do another. The teacher continues, Uraraka Shiozaki. An elegant-looking girl with vines for hair walls up. Uraraka here is wearing 250 pounds of tank armor and is a hell of a close-quarters fighter. Our Shiozaki makes vines. You know the drill. Before Uraraka can cross half the distance between them, she's lifted into the air by vines. Momentarily, the vines almost lose their grip as gravity is allowed to grace Uraraka's armor. Great job, both of you. Now, why did Uraraka lose? Yamomo's hand shoots up. Bad quirk matchup. Correct. Why did Kaibara lose? Minter raises his hand. Overconfidence. Correct, that's what turned his unfavorable quirk matchup into a bad matchup. Now that my point has been made, everyone line up. Kan-sensei begins to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 1. Midoriya's heart sinks. Shoji's to his left. Minta to his right. Here he is. Midoriya's group includes Monoma, Ojiro, and Ida. All right, class, pick a partner from the other class in your group. I don't particularly care how, says Mr. Aizawa. Ida puts a hand on Midoriya's shoulder and flashes a thumbs up. Midoriya does his best impression of a smile. All right, remember your partner, because you aren't allowed to talk to them until it's your turn. Ken Sensei points to two groups, you with Eraserhead, you with me. Shoji, Sue, a guy with exposed teeth and gums, and a guys with a comic book speech bubble for a head went with Ken Sensei. While Komori went with Mainta, a guy who looked like a Sasquatch and a goth girl. Now before we all begin, shouts out Ken Sensei, who could really project his voice. The name of the game is improvisation. Each group has 30 seconds to develop a plan and share details about their quirk. Then whoever gets both of the other team in handcuffs first wins. I want you spectators to A. Practice juggling your attention, and B. Practice your quirk analysis. When the whistle blows, it's time to start. Each group splits into a team of two and talks to themselves. Shoji with manga panels, Sue with the exposed teeth, Mainta with the Sasquatch, and Komori with the goth. The whistle blows. Midoriya Izuku enters Zen. The goth girl picks up Komori and bounces away. Her movements similar to Mainta's, who is bouncing away from his partner as he grew into a giant ape-like thing. The goth seems to have some kind of rubberized feet. Could it extend the rest of her body? How does it affect durability? What else changes with the Sasquatch? Unless they can catch up to Komori, Mainta's team is going to lose. He turns his head. Shoji's waist deep in the floor, arms spread as the comic guy holds onto large inflated letters spelling out puff, lifting him in the air. The ground hardened. Comic book lets go with a yell of crack. Several jagged cracks splinter into the ground. Puff. He yanks them both out of the ground just as the ground liquefies again and Sue jumps towards them. A scream. Mainta is running away covered in mushrooms. Yep, ran out of time. Whoosh, comic book and Shoji are flying through the air. Sue sits in the sidelines handcuffed. Comic book has a very versatile quirk. The personification, or rather materialization, of onomatopoeia. The other guy's quick seems be the changing of viscosity of materials. It seems like he's out of luck unless Shoji's team drops to the ground. Kerplunk. The words briefly appear as solid objects slamming into the puddle that is the ground. Suddenly, the tidal wave of concrete solidifies as the other guy runs along the wall. Taking a fearless leap, he collides with comic book. The puff loses its integrity as the group plummets, only to sink into the ground like it's a soft bed. Comic book and Shoji are stuck to their neck. All right then. Yells out Ken Sensei. What did each group do right and wrong? Midoriya's hand shoots up. Both Mainta's group and Komori's group had pretty optimal strategies. One group's agility made it harder for the other group to be reliably upwind or out of spore-contaminated air, making Mainta's strategy to rush back the only real option. So if Mainta had maintained the aggression or his teammate had managed a herding maneuver, it could have been a victory for Mainta. No offense, man. I tried okay. Komori pats his back reassuringly. Midoriya continues. Also, Shoji's team was too afraid of the ground. I see no reason Shoji wouldn't just be sunk down to his head, unless buoyancy laws apply, in which case the team gaining height actually allowed them to be sunk further into the ground. The exposed teeth guy seems to smile. People don't usually pick up on that. Midoriya Ida Ajiro Manama, you're up. Midoriya springs to his feet like a coiled spring. The group is assigned to start in an area around what looks like a drained pool. To Izuku and Ida's left is a strange series of concrete ripples. To their right, several small buildings, only a few rooms in size. Midoriya starts. Ojiro has a prehesial tail, capable of supporting 500 ib weight with some difficulty, and can strike with enough force to break a concrete block. What can Monoma do? Ida looks a little taken aback, at least judging by his body language. He can copy up to 3 quirks for up to 5 minutes. Whatever calm Midoriya had been in turns into a thin and delicate mask as a storm of dread howls within him. Oh. Ida, oblivious to the change, continues. As you can see, I have a quirk similar to my esteemed brother. What, may I ask, is your quirk? I. The whistle blows, stalling Midoriya's grim fate. I'll handle a Jiro by. He then jumps into the empty pool and runs. The closest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Monoma charges him. Izuku's shoes skid as he frantically reverses his momentum. He slams into something invisible. Oh, says Monoma, I heard you have quite the quirk. A general enhancer, is it? Monoma throws a white glue. Izuku kicks off the wall, then off Monoma's own shoulder. Landing with a roll, he runs. He sees Ida in a hold as Ojiro struggles to cuff him. Midoriya changes direction with a flip, and a jump. He manages a close approximation to a drop kick, staggering Ojiro. Frantically, Midoriya pushes himself up and out of the way of Monoma's hand, which then brushes Ida's ankle. He hears an engine rev behind him. Well, damn, 2 pairs of engine legs will definitely make the beatings worse. Midoriya hadn't had time to consider that. The sound's getting closer. Midoriya throws himself left. The terrain would slow Monoma, and the while offering enough space to avoid glue and walls. Then, as if it was thought into existence, Midoriya slams face first into an invisible wall. Monoma tags him. Several very critical things happen in short order. There is the sound of a crunch emanating from Midoriya's nose. Monoma begins to hyperventilate. This is followed by another. The invisible wall disappears. Midoriya is tackled from behind. His face slams into the ground. Instinct takes over. He curls into a ball and thinks about quirks. Ojiro, for his part, having just tackled his classmate only to see an unexpected and worrying amount of blood pool around him, yells, "Eh!" Thankfully, training kicks in. Midoriya feels a tap. Midoriya tap. Midoriya, are you okay? Mr. Aizawa. Midoriya sits up. Okay. IJ just need to go to the nurse. He then gets up, seemingly oblivious to the blood, and begins to walk. Wait, hold on. Ojiro yells. Ida, having arrived, begins to speak. I must insist someone accompany you. What? Yells Mr. Aizawa as he jogs over. Midoriya broke his nose, Ojiro calls back, like really badly. Midoriya, for his part, starts to walk faster. Ida, Mr. Aizawa orders, take Midoriya to the nurse. Then, much to Aizawa's credit as a teacher, he walks over to talk Monoma out of his panic attack. As Ida walks, he has to pull his hand away from Monoma, who is holding it for some reason. Sorry Monoma, I am needed elsewhere. Midoriya and Ida walk in silence. As they open the nurse's office door, the in-house doctor and retired pro recovery girl asks a question. So what seems to be the problem? Only to answer her own question by turning her chair to look at them. I see, have a seat. As Midoriya sits, recovery girl explains what she's doing. Now here is a numbing agent for your nose before I set it. She injects him with something. A few C-chords later, she begins to talk again. This may hurt a little. She puts a metal rod into his nose very gently. 3-2, the nose is set. Recovery girl quickly pulls the metal rod out, then sits there waiting for something. She begins to grow pale as she realizes he simply is not going to react. We're going to run some tests now, okay, dearie? Okay. As recovery girl pulls out a miniaturized MRI machine, she realizes she never actually healed the break, just set it. Hurriedly, she runs over and plants a kiss on his cheek. Then she hands him a large handful of specially formulated gummy candies. Midoriya sits there, gummies in hand, as recovery girl affixes the machine. She powers it on, and then takes a blood test on his finger, for no other reason than the fact that it hurts a little. For a moment, recovery girl is relieved that the boy can feel pain, only to quickly realize that the boy can feel pain, and just had a very broken nose reset without even blinking. She hands the boy another handful of gummies, calmly and efficiently puts away her equipment, writes a quick, not excusing Midoriya from further physical combat for the last 45 minutes of the day, and more importantly, the note demands Eraserhead to see her after class. Well, after Midoriya leaves, she leans forward and just stares at the ground for a good long time. You wanted to see me? Asks Eraserhead. Whatever you're doing to that boy needs to stop. I wasn't aware you had any experience teaching. Do you remember when I set your nose? The first time you broke it? It was in my first year here and your first year as a student. Yes? Do you remember how painful it was? Yes? Midoriya didn't react to having his nose set. So he's stoic. Don't you think I know the difference between the two? I'm telling you, he didn't react. Recovery Girl was tearing up. I had to test that he even feels pain. So whatever tough love bullshit you think is going to work, stop. Are you sure? He didn't just. He didn't blink. The reality of the situation sets in. As a teacher, Aizawa's greatest fear is that his students won't take the job seriously and end up dead or crippled or walk into a trap. Today, he finds a new fear, that one of his students just won't care what happens to them. Midoriya was having a bad day. He couldn't sleep last night, and he was distracted all day. He was waiting. Monoma knows. He knows, and he has no reason not to tell people. Even now, during joint training, he can feel Monoma's hateful eyes on him. Midoriya, Mr. Aizawa calls him over as class ends. You're a good hero student, but you seem distracted today. Keep your head. What? Thank you, sir. Mr. Aizawa stares. The fact that his neutral face looks like he's contemplating whether or not to push you off a cliff isn't helping. You can go. Before the boy can mentally reset from that frankly alien interaction, as far as Mr. Aizawa is concerned, Monoma walks up to him. Midoriya, he says with a smug smirk, can I talk with you after class? Yes, of course. Midoriya looks away. He's ready for this. He brought 6,000 yen with him, and he has an extra cert. Bandages, whatever happens, he is ready. Monoma then walks with him to the locker room. Yo, Midoriya calls out Shoji. We were thinking that. Sadly, Monoma cuts in, Midoriya and I have other plans. Shoji stares blank-faced. Do you now? Why, yeah, Midoriya stutters out. It's okay, Shoji. As the two walk, Monoma leads him around the building out of view. Then, as is often the case in life, Midoriya was braced for anything but what actually happens. Monoma goes into a deep apologetic bow. I am sorry for reacting the way I did. Oh, you see, Midoriya. He looks away and begins a monologue. I had always been afraid of what would happen if I tried to copy a quirkless person. Midoriya jolts and darts his head around. But now I know. You freed me from that, and I'd like to thank you. So, since you've helped me, I'd like to be your friend. I have a fun day for us planned. Fine dining, exquisite music, what do you say? Fear must have been evident on Midoriya's face. Monoma sighs and rolls his eyes. Then hesitates, whatever aloof persona he carries slipping through his fingers like so much sand. I can't pretend to know what you went through. I can only project my own experiences and extrapolate. And well, the boy seems to shrink. I was always told I'd be nothing but a cheap knockoff. But look at us. We did it. We're in here and they're out there. He seems to regain some gravitas. Isn't that vindicating? Isn't that satisfying? Such schadenfreude. We won. They lost, Midoriya. We should celebrate. Then Monoma extends his hand. Midoriya, where his fear and relief mingle, takes the hand. Quickly, he finds himself on a crowded train, pressed close to Monoma. Before much longer, the two are strolling down a street. Proud grin stretched across Monoma's face as they entered their first destination. The double doors open for them. It is a high-end grocery store. Midoriya, have you ever had starfruit? No? Great, let's try some free samples. He then strolls over to a stand manned by an employee. Midoriya watches as he strikes up a conversation while handing Midoriya a slice of fruit in a little plastic cup, before taking his own and snagging two more. As the two enjoy the tropical fruit, Monoma spots a stand containing smoked salmon and bagel chips, which Monoma deftly swipes 3 extra. Is this allowed? Midoriya asks, as he is offered his second chip. It's fine. Most of the time they will give you extra if you ask. Case in point. He walks up to the deli counter. My good man, your finest sample of. I'm in a Thuringer mood today. After 2 slices of sausage are handed over, the deli man speaks, making friends I see. Oh yes, who can resist my charm? Most of the country. Monoma gives a venomous look, while adjusting his UA uniform, ever the critic. The man laughs. Midoriya gives a polite chuckle. They both get an extra slice before they are shooed away. Finally, after each sample stand was exhausted, the two leave. Now then, old chum, I believe I promised you music. He then leads Midoriya into a park, in order to sit down on a fountain next to a man playing drums on several jugs and a woman with a battered violin. Mido, the woman calls before flourishing her violin. Did you finally bring a friend to see us? Yes, this is my esteemed guest Midoriya Izuku. As he talks, the boy drops a handful of change into the violin case. So how did you two meet? The violinist picks up speed. Wait, dump, questioned the uniform. Yes, I accidentally broke his nose, and now we are friends. The drummer bursts out laughing. He didn't kidnap you, did he? Midoriya, in a moment of daring, holds up a hand and pinches his fingers together slightly. Now both are laughing, with Monoma clearly suppressing a snicker before mumbling out, next time I'll tip you after the ribbing, see how you like it. Before turning to Midoriya, take notes, only those who provide me food or music can tease me. And your sister, adds the violinist, before attempting to ruffle his hair with her elbow. Now get home, you have homework, I'm sure. A sigh. Shall we head home then, Midoriya? The other boy shrugs, sure. Great. Midoriya finds himself smiling. This was actually a really fun afternoon. As Midoriya and Monoma walk towards the train station, they hear something that is quite like catnip to their particular demographic. A cry for help coming from an alley. Midoriya, without any hesitation, runs in. Monoma, after a heartbeat, runs after. Ahead of them, a woman being menaced by a rough-looking character with knives for hands. As the woman makes eye contact, things go off the rails. That is to say, she points at them and says, "Get 'em." The two turn around. A large stone-covered man is blocking the exit. Midoriya briefly fiddles with his medical alert bracelet. Monoma puts up his fists and says, "One roll to an alley fight, hurt them." Monoma charges forward. As he runs, all the loose paper and even cardboard boxes begin to whip themselves into a frenzy, as if by an oddly selective wind. The papers converge upon Midoriya as Monoma tags the big guy while ducking a blow. As the quirk takes effect, he realizes his life is never simple, as opposed to the large stone blotches seemingly covering the man's entire body. He feels 3 small patches of a numb weight form on his body. Experimentally, he tries moving the patches with his mind. To his delight, it works. Right fist, left fist, back of neck. He pivots and charges to avoid the rock while attacking the knife guy. Midoriya is currently kicking him in the head while trying to flail out of the paper. The thrown punch barely brushes him. He tagged the quirk, but in exchange, the back of Monoma's neck is grabbed, robbing the blow of further momentum. Back of neck, forehead, left elbow. He slams his elbow back, cracking against the man's head like 2 stones. His hand slips. Monoma lunges at scissor hands. Both their fingers are currently blades with seemingly no off switch, so Monoma hits with a stone-laden backhand. Papers swarm him. As he slashes and swipes, he is pushed against the wall, buffeted by a paper typhoon. Over the cacophony of wrinkling paper, he hears a head hit cement. The papers loosen. Monoma throws a stone punch at the biggest shadow in the vicinity. Crack. His bladed fingers chip against his own palm. He's being hefted into the air. Back of head, upper spin, left elbow, all feel asleep and leaded as he is smashed into the ground. Left fist, face back of neck. A fist slams down. Briefly Monoma wants to curl into a ball. But the first rule of a street fight, be the last one standing. So instead he throws himself up and wraps his hands around the man's head. He twists. The man slams into the ground like a bag of rocks. Monoma gets a stone elbow to his stone face. He of course returns the favor twice over. Blade quirk mentally dropped. Nothing to get in the way. Thud thud, a hand punching him away. Midoriya's boot slams down on the thug's face. Monoma looks up, paper girl and scissor hands are on the ground. Midoriya's boot slams down again. And again. The villain lets go. Monoma rolls back. Then, not to be left behind, stomps down on the man's stomach. There's a thunderous sound of metal scrapping on asphalt. Who a pant, touched my pant, goddamn boy, the villain freezes. Monoma throws one last kick. Midoriya, having just diverted a straight kick away from the rock's head, slams his boot down onto the ground. Monoma lets his quirk drop and looks behind him. It's Miruko. He's suddenly being hefted into the air. No, wait, shouts the thug. Thud. The pro hero takes stock of the situation. Good job, Bunny. It takes Monoma a little longer than he would like to get to the right conclusion. Oh, you to know each other? Yep, the pro hero says, popping the P. It's really impressive that you both took these three down entirely quirkless. Monoma likes her already. I couldn't agree more, I just followed my dear friend's lead. A siren can be heard closely approaching. Monoma leans over. Midoriya, how do you know this person? We live together. Huh. Well, next time you're paying for the outing. Midoriya laughs. Free samples my treat. Were you to walk into class 1 in the morning like Shoji Minta and Hagakure just did, they would see an unusual sight. A student from class 1B sitting across from Midoriya with a bag of chip between them. Monoma was gesticulating wildly, as if he was trying to take up space, while Midoriya listened. Monoma's uniform coat has several barely visible stitches and Midoriya has a black eye. And that's why my sister can't eat broccoli? He finishes the tale. Midoriya pauses. Why didn't she just wash them again? The two look at each other. Then start laughing hysterically. Midoriya, Hagakure calls as she walks up. What happened to you? As is typical, Midoriya jumps. Hi, Hagakure. He smiles, and boy, does that smile melt her heart. We ran into a little trouble after school. Boy, is that cagey. What kind of trouble? Midoriya suddenly looks shy, before Monoma cuts in. Kidnappers. Luckily, a pro hero was in the area, and since Midoriya's quirk can't be turned off, we avoided vigilantism charges. Yes, Midoriya agrees. We were very lucky. Well, this has been fun, states Monoma as he stands. But I simply must be going. See you at lunch, old friend. Since when are you two old friends? Hagakure asks. Midoriya smiles. About 15 hours ago. Shoji nods his head. Then the four students head to their seats. Minta staying up front because he is very short. While Hagakure, Midoriya and Shoji bunch up in the back of the class. Mr. Aizawa walks in. All right, class, due to security concerns the sports festival is rescheduled. The class is in an uproar. Mr. Aizawa's hair stands on end, his eyes glow as they sweep the class. A wave of shocked silence sweeps through the class. Eraserhead Midoriya Izuku shouts, before looking like he wants to die. Mr. Blinks, his hair drops. A sigh, Midoriya extra credit. Now back on topic, due to security concerns, we are going to have the festival 2 weeks as a closed event, which will give us time to edit and obfuscate quirks and faces as much as necessary. His voice drones on. UA will take some responsibility for finding you all internship opportunities over me weekend. A long breath. It will still be broadcast at the normal time. You're all going to have to sign NDAs because of the gambling lobbyists. And the #1 entrance exam scorer will have to give a speech. Now, before Midoriya can hyperventilate, Eraserhead adds internally, "We're going to work on hero names." And then Mike-sensei bursts into the room. "Let's get marketing." Mr. Aizawa walks out of the room. "All right, class, get into groups if you want." Quickly, Midoriya's friend group bunched together. The group pauses as Midoriya pulls up his phone to the HPSC hero list. "How's Hagakure?" starts. "Invisible Girl." "Me," Minta says, "kind of obvious." "Transparent," Midoriya suggests. "EA. See those shoji hazards?" "No." "Well, maybe the tagline." "Okay, so blank the see-through hero," Minta adds. "Blank's not bad," Shoji comments. Hagakure sighs. "Invisible Girl, the see-through hero it is." "All right," Minta declares, "I still have nothing." "Greatman," Shoji winces as he says it. "Ball guy," Hagakure suggests, thankful that she doesn't need to keep a straight face. Minta stands up in his chair. "Mike-sensei, does the name have to be related directly to your quirk?" "Well, it would make the boys in marketing happy, but no, it doesn't." Then to the whole class he adds, "That is not an invitation to call yourselves Superman or something. You bounce around a lot," Midoriya notes, "maybe pinball." "How about," Hagakure add, "blank the pinball hero?" "I already have a tagline picked out." "Respect," Shoji says before extending a fist. After a brief fist bump later, Minta confesses, "I kind of like pinball." "Yeah." He extends his hands as if unveiling a banner, "Pinball the brave hero." The group claps. Then they turn to Shoji. "I can't really think of anything that doesn't involve the fact that I have a heteromorphic quirk." "Aren't you all about heteromorphic quirk representation?" "True, but it shouldn't define me." "Well. You have a habit," Midoriya stutters out, "of looking out for people and making people feel safe." "Thanks, dude." Another fist bump. "Bastion man," Hagakure offers. "I know Bastion's taken." "Bastion man, the bro hero," Minta delivers with gravitas. The group stutters out a laugh. "Okay, Midoriya, your turn." Well, I'm stuck is somewhere between an A All Might reference and a miruko reference. "Wait," asks Minta, "are there any All Might derivatives that aren't already taken?" I think a almighty man is free." "Boo, but that's not good. You're always bouncing around." Hagakure observes, "And with the kicks, I think leaning into the rabbit would work best." "Pinball and hopping boy," Minta suggests. Shoji laughs. "If he's a boy, you should be pinball boy." "Hopping man?" asks Hagakure. "How about Jack Rabbit?" Shoji suggests offhand. "Ooh," Hagakure coos. "I like it." "Midoriya." Midoriya thinks, then thinks more. "I like it." "Now we just need a tagline," states Minta. "The perfect hero?" Hagakure blurts out before pulling her shoulders higher and closer to her head. I mean, think about it. What isn't Midoriya at least good at?" That's a bit of a bold statement," Midoriya frantically counters. "The generalist hero," offers Minta. Jack Rabbit, the generalist hero," Midoriya starts to cry. "It's perfect, guys, thank you so much." Hagakure and Shoji are hugging him. Minta strains to reach his hand across the table. As the group sat down, Hagakure states, a little panicked, "I changed my mind, my name sucks." "Glamour." Taken, Midoriya informs. "See more, it's ironic." Taken. "But the ironic hero is open." I don't know, whisper, because I'm stealthy." Taken. "Damn it. Vizzy?" "Not taken. Vizzy the stealth hero." "All right, class, it's time to present," Mike calls out. Eric went for Katsuraut, but had to be talked into changing her tagline from the armored hero to the gravity hero. Ashido's first suggestion, Dancing Queen, the acid hero, was changed to Acid Queen, the dancing hero. "All right, class," shouts out Ken-sensei. "Today, we will be doing individual and group training. So pick a group of 4 and spitball ways to improve. Expect Mr. Aizawa or I to pull you away for one-on-ones." Izuku turns to his friends. Shoji, with a smile in his eyes, says, I suppose we'll be together. Then someone else speaks. Actually, Midoriya still owes me dance lessons, Ashido Mina states from behind. Oh, says Midoriya while finding his courage. Then he looks to Shoji, Hagakure, and Mainta. I guess one of yous will have to find a different group. Actually, I have a group for us. Ashido clarifies. So come on, Midoriya, let's go. She then takes the boy's hand and starts walking. I found a nice dancing spot. This is going to be awesome. Wait, hold on, Hagakure mutters out before Mainta starts clapping. He then sniffles. Our little boy is spreading his wings. Shoji snickers. I think Miruko would fight you on whose boy he is. Hagakure sighs. We still need a fourth. Do we have any other friends? Don't worry, guys, Mainta confidently states before plucking a ball from his head and placing it on the ground as a launch pad. He springs into the air with grace. Hey, Komori. He shouts from right by Shoji's head, causing him to recoil. The girl in question looks over at Shoji. She has time to point to herself in confusion before Mainta springs back into view. Want to join our group? Sure, she shouts back with enthusiasm before walking over to her fellow WANA students. Being another incredibly short person, she sits in the front of the class right next to Mainta. Midoriya finds himself facing Tsu and Kamakiri, a 1B student that looks like a cross between a praying mantis and sword. Tsu by way of grating waves while Kamakiri bows. All right. Cheers out, Ashido. We are here today to become all the greater at kicking, dancing, and becoming the human equivalent of a blender. Oh, okay, Midoriya thinks things are starting to make sense. Then he realizes everyone is looking at him expectantly. Oh, okay. The first rule of C Capoeira is to keep moving. Even your fighting as stance is movement. He starts moving his feet in a casual, almost dance-like triangular pattern. The Jinga keeps you loose. Midoriya's footwork widens a little as his body bends towards the ground, making you always ready to evade, or he plants a hand on the ground and throws his body into a powerful kick. Ashido, standing closest, startles back. Sorry, Midoriya stutters out as he stops dancing. No, this is really cool, insisted Ashido. Keep going, agrees Tsu. The next principle of capoeira is militia. Midoriya throws a kick only to fluidly shift into a flip, which shifts into a new kick coming from a different direction. Never let your opponent know what you're doing, otherwise you'll probably get kicked in the head. To emphasize the point, Midoriya transitions a flip into a one-armed handstand. Lastly, you need malandragem, or enough street smarts to read your enemy. Briefly, he loses balance, then leans into it and tumbles to his feet. Any questions? Sue raises her hand. Why does it look like dance? Oh, it was invented by slaves who needed to disguise their training to fight. There's a brief lull. Let's see your Jinga. The three start dancing as Midoriya inspects them. Ashido was like a fish to water, while Tsu and Kamakiri took a little while longer to get it down. Kamakiri's main obstacle was that he kept on feeling silly and self-conscious. What are you doing, mister? Aizawa suddenly asks from the side. Sensei, hi, Ashido says, while seamlessly transitioning the direction her Jinga faces. Midori's teaching us capoeira. Mister. Aizawa looks at them stone-faced. Then before leaving, he simply says, carry on. It takes Midoriya a moment to regain the wind in his sails, but when he does, he says, let's try some basic kicks, heel and toe. To demonstrate, Midoriya rapidly chains together a series of kicks, with a few gratuitous flips thrown in. He was starting to have fun. Fun that Ashido definitely picks up on, seeing as she starts trying to freestyle and break dancing moves. Am I doing this right, Midori? That's great, Ashido, Midoriya calls when prompted. Capoeira can be about free expression as well. But don't forget this is about fighting. Mina stops, shifting into her own handstand. Well, if it's about fighting, shouldn't I be using my quirk? Midoriya pauses, then smiles. Ashido calls out, All right, everyone back up 3 steps back. More another step, more 3 more steps. Ashido Mina starts to spin, acid streaming off her, flying away from her. Her group takes another step back as she picks up speed. Ashido Mina starts to laugh maniacally as the area around her melts into an acid puddle. She slows down, panting. Then from where she poses on the ground takes in her surroundings. That was the coolest thing I have ever done. Very cool, Sue says with a croak before tilting her head. Should I not be holding back either? Midoriya looks at her, fear in his eyes. Don't hold back, he says. Sue lets loose a powerful kick that generates enough wind to stagger Midoriya. Midoriya is in awe. He hasn't just created a monster today, he created 2. Oh my god, says Ashido in awe. We are awesome. Cutting through Midoriya's thought is a shrill whistle. Ken-sensei calls out to both classes, good work today. Hit the lockers. Wait. It's been 2 hours already. Suddenly Midoriya is being hugged. Thanks Midori, Ashido says. This was fun. Let's all do it again tomorrow. Sue pats his back. Tomorrow. Sure, Midoriya says. A stuttering mess, even after the surprise hug was over. Let's work more on evasions tomorrow. Actually, Kamakiri says, before bowing. I don't think this fits my fighting style well. Thank you for the lesson. Oh, it's nothing. I'm glad you tried it. As Midoriya walks to the locker room, her hears footsteps rapidly approaching. Hey Midoriya, Kaminari starts. Broderia. Why, yes. You were surrounded by some pretty ladies today. Yes. Midoriya tries not to find people attractive. It just sets him up for failure. Well, I was wondering if you could share your mojo. My mojo? Yeah man, how'd you do it? I guess they had a reason to pay attention to me. And I didn't objectify them. I hear you, but it's hard not to appreciate the view. Well, finding someone unattractive doesn't mean you objectify them. It's about respect. Not that you don't respect them, he hastily adds. I hear you, Kaminari says. Then he adds, but what does that even mean? Treat them gently. Don't. I know you're supposed to hold doors open. Without thinking or reading into it, Kaminari holds a door open for Midoriya. But that doesn't seem to get me anywhere. I guess they know if you're just doing it to get somewhere, Midoriya hazards. He's not sure they are having the same conversation. How are you supposed to get anywhere with the ladies then? Treat them like people, Minta calls. Huh? Kaminari asks. Women aren't a monolith. I know, but I still want a girlfriend. There's nothing wrong with that, Minta clarifies as Midoriya changes. But you need to ask yourself, are you prepared to put on an act forever, if that's what got you a girl? Huh? Kaminari states introspectively. Then he turns to Midoriya to get his input. Dude, what happened to your back? Midoriya slams his scar-covered back into his locker. Nothing. It's nothing. My back is fine. Nothing happened to it. He forgot. Midoriya Izuku has not had a kind life. Someone who was once his friend became his bully. His bully had an explosive quirk. Once upon a time his bully had poor quirk control. Even when his bully became skilled with his quirk, the growth of his viciousness and his calculated cruelty paired with the callous disinterest from his teachers more than made up the difference. Midoriya's upper back is covered in frequently overlapping scars. His shoulders have vaguely handprint-shaped burns. Desperately, he wraps his arms around himself trying to hide. Even his stomach and chest have a few scars. What stands out most is his largest scar, faded and stretched with age. The only one he could confidently say was an accident. Kaminari quickly turns his head. Minta pales. Shoji isn't here to bail him out. But Monoma, despite his green-tinged face, acts. His costume's suit jacket is hastily thrown over Midoriya. As if a spell is broken, the people still in the locker room look away. Some hesitantly try to pick back up conversations. Hey Midoriya, Minta asks, his back still turned. Are you okay? I'm fine, Midoriya says too forcefully. He says softly, in a better situation now. He wants to curl up and disappear. Instead, he changes. It's a struggle, but Monama's coat provides enough cover. Midoriya Izuku climbs into bed, with our even remembering going home. Rumi and Inko were watching cuddling up on the couch, while watching a movie, enjoying one of her days off, when Izuku came home. Morning, Bunny. Hello, Izuku, how was your day? Izuku makes a non-committal grunt sound, then walks up to his room. The two look at each other. He's usually so much more friendly and talkative. Do you think he had a bad day? Rumi asks, while fumbling with the remote to pause the film. Maybe. I'll go check on him, Inko says before getting up. Rumi turns to watch her leave, already missing the warmth at her side. Soon Inko walks back down. He don't want to talk, she says, concern and dejection in her voice. Best to give him space then. Let's finish the movie. Her phone buzzes. Please don't be a work thing, please don't be a work thing. It's a text from Izuku, don't tell Mom, can we talk? Oh boy, thinks Rumi. I bet he will be more receptive if I bring him a snack, she says before getting up and heading to the kitchen. Opening the fridge, she reaches for a Tupperware before rattling it. She pours its content, carrot sticks, into a bowl before heading upstairs. Bunny's door still has his old All Might name placard. A couple of rabbit-themed stickers stuck to it. She knocks. A light rap. She opens the door. Hey, Bunny, she calls to the bundle of blankets. Bad day? The blankets shake. Yeah, she leans down to hug him. What happened? I messed up. Oh. People saw my back. Oh, Rumi's eyes darken. Did they have a problem with that? And no, I don't want them to think I'm weak. Bunny, look at this. She pulls up her shirt to expose her midriff. A jagged scar cuts across her stomach and side. Do you know how I got this? A villain fight? He asks softly. Car crash. I was 11. Get this, legally I died for a bit. Rumi pauses and chuckles. Before then I was scared, most of the time. But then, the worst thing already happened to me. Do you get what I'm saying? I didn't almost die. No, but you had an entire school district bully you. Then they got sued into oblivion. As far as school goes, your worst thing already happened. Hell, you have the scars to prove it. Izuku manages a chuckle. Now I was going to help your mom cook dinner, but we can order takeout and play Guilty Gear instead. How about that? See, can I stay here a while? Sure, come down when you're ready. Rumi gets up, leaving the carrots on the nightstand, and walks downstairs, walking from one emotional disaster into another. Inko sat on the couch, tears streaming, white knuckle grip on her pants. He went to you, didn't he? Ooh. A chuckle, maybe a sob, of course. You're the one who believes in him. Why wouldn't you? Hey, come on, Rumi attempts to placate. It's not like you're a terrible mom. But I am. I knew something was happening. I was just too depressed to. I thought it would be the same everywhere, and she starts sobbing. Rumi does not have the emotional bandwidth for the day. But well, go big or go home, and she's already home. Rumi goes for a hug and begins to slowly rock her girlfriend. The worst thing that could happen has already happened. The worst thing that could happen has already happened. The line repeats inside his head, mumbles out of his mouth, over and over and over. As he trudges up the slope, his walk far longer and more time-consuming than usual. His hands shake as he opens the door to the classroom, his lips finally silent. Several people look at him. A few pained looks, a few sympathetic. No contempt, he's surprised. Hey dude, Minta says from his desk near the door. Komori, who had been leaning on his desk, waves. Midoriya Hagakure calls out from the back, before tripping out other desk and power walking over, dragging attention with her. Hagakure's hands hover before him, as if he was delicate, fragile. Are you okay? Minta asks, beating her to it. As Kirishima, Ashido, Yamomo, Tsu, Tetsu, and Uraraka crowd around. What happened? Who did it? More people. Does it hurt? Did you get him back? Suddenly, there's 3 loud, not quite synchronized, claps. Everyone looks over behind Kendo, whose large hands had yet to make contact, is Shoji. You're crowding him, he says simply as he walks over. Everyone takes a half step back, excluding Minta, who is trapped in his desk by the crowd. Hesitantly, Midoriya begins to speak. I'm okay. I don't want to talk about it. He runs the back of his neck and crosses an arm protectively as the class's faces shift almost imperceptibly towards disappointment. All right, everyone, Kendo yells. The last thing we need is Mr. Aizawa throwing out detentions. Let's sit down. The milling crowd disperses. Someone pats Midoriya's back. He flinches violently. Tetsu stands back, hands raised. Sorry, I meant. Midoriya nods his head before going to his desk. All right, class, Mr. Aizawa starts as he walks in. As you know, next week will be a normal schedule, excluding Friday, which will be the sports festival. Midoriya, you're not in trouble, but I need to speak to you in the hall. Izuku stands up, arms shaking. The door closes with a click of finality behind him. So, Mr. Aizawa says, as you know, the highest scorer of the entrance exam usually does a speech to open the sports festival. Yes. An exasperated expression. Midoriya, that's you. A jolt goes through Midoriya. Good job, by the way. WW what? I assumed that was a mistake. The expression turns pained. No, you did a great job. Thank you. Will you need help with the speech? I guess I can ask my friends who, know my situation. The face is blank, unreadable. It's illogical to try to keep it a secret, and you're only delaying things. Midoriya jolts again. But if it means that much to you, someone else can do the speech. There's no guarantee it won't come out after the sports festival gets on TV, but there's a chance. I'll think about it. Another unreadable look. Between you and me, I ripped the band-aid off. But we have different lives. So, OOTH, thank you, sensei. Anytime. I realize you've been failed by a lot of teachers, and I don't want to continue that pattern, so if there's a problem, or you need advice, you can come to me. Midoriya wasn't sure he believes that, but he says thank you anyway. Eraserhead opens the door and looks at Midoriya with what passes for an inviting expression. The student takes a step. Midoriya Izuku plops down onto his desk with a shuddering exhale. Shoji looks at him. He wasn't a dick, was he? And no, he was helpful, Midoriya confesses. Good, Hagakure adds. Just remember, I could totally get away with putting salt in his coffee. Shoji sighs. Somehow I doubt that. Well, I'll get enough for effort. Midoriya chuckles. Before turning to Shoji. Can you help me with my speech today? Sure. He holds up a finger. One condition. Tomorrow we all go to the beach. Midoriya smiles. Deal. Hagakure pumps her fist. Maybe, just maybe, the worst really was behind Midoriya Izuku.